Chapter 31. Hey, who's the other one? You better run and hide, little lamb. A youngster jumped up onto the first fighting stage and called out his opponent arrogantly. He wore the uniform of the Morning Star and his face was filled with arrogance. But the next second, when he saw who his opponent was, the arrogance disappeared from his face as he swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He felt like he was going to faint on the spot because the one who just landed in front of him was none other than Victoria Parker from the Golden Valley. I surrender. He didn't take much time as he immediately said these words and jumped down from the fighting stage. The speed was even greater than the speed of him jumping up to the stage. Although he seemed arrogant, he knew his limits. Fighting head-to-head with a powerful prodigy like Victoria Parker was no different than committing suicide. On another side, the same happened when Evan Clark appeared. His opponent also didn't dare to fight with him, so he did the logical thing, surrender. The crowd felt disappointed not seeing Victoria and Evan in action. But their disappointment quickly vanished when they laid their eyes on the sixth stage where Ghost and the red-hired youth were facing each other. To be honest, you surprised me by reaching the 100th step, but unfortunately you're going to die today. This youngster looked extremely arrogant, and when Michael took a closer look at his robe, he noticed a star embroidered on his chest, the symbol of Morning Star. His red hair fluttered in the wind as he radiated a powerful body refining stage level 4 cultivation level. Brother Orion, please don't. We saw him massacre the entire Blood and Bone sect and burn their disciples alive. Not far from the fighting stage, someone shouted out loud, and when Michael looked in the direction of the voice to see the group of Morning Stars he had met earlier. No one takes what's mine, now I will make an example out of him to let the world know what would happen if they take what belongs to me. Orion Kesher, human, he must be the person left the mark on the quest we took. Hearing this, Michael slightly shook his head and started to laugh, which made the crowd wonder why he was laughing. Orion felt offended and frowned looking at him, laughing. Why are you laughing? You really looking to fight me because I took a quest from the guild? Are you dumb or something? Listen to your classmates and surrender, he'll let you live. His laugh stopped and now he looked at him coldly while releasing a slight killing intent around him. Brother Ghost is scary. One of the female disciples of the Sunrise sect became afraid of him looking at his cold face. Michael didn't hold back, therefore many people in the square heard him loud and clear. The other stages quickly lost their views and everyone turned their gaze towards stage 6. Do you believe he could have killed them without using any dirty tricks? You believe whatever you want and stand aside, I got this. With a wave of his hand, Orion stopped Clara's group from saying anything. Even the 4 geniuses on the top turned to look at stage 6 to see what the famous ghost could really do. That good-for-nothing Ralphie couldn't even kill a weakling like him. Humph, he was nothing but a disgrace to call himself a sect master, he snorted. Senior Orion, kill him. That's right, tear him into pieces. Some of the fans of Selena and Alex started to shout loudly and fanned Orion's arrogance. They didn't believe that a body refining stage level 5 cultivator like Orion can't kill the one who is only at level 1. Clara felt uneasy in her mind because she had already witnessed his terrifying power before. In front of Michael, Orion shouted as loudly as he could. Orion dashed at him with a silver sword in his hand while magical symbols appeared around the sword to enhance its power. Swoosh. Kill this F******cur human. Yet before Orion could come closer, the crowd saw Ghost's body turn into a bolt of lightning and disappear from Orion's view. But in a flash, he appeared behind Orion, and from his fingertip, a blue lightning bolt shot through Orion's forehead. What? Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body refining stage level 5 cultivator. The reward is 4,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points. The next moment, Orion dropped on the ground with a hole right between his eyes. The youngster who acted so high and might a moment ago did not have a chance to scream and lying on the ground dead. A puff of smoke was coming out of Orion's wound and his eyes were still wide open, as a terrified expression could be seen on his face. This scene terrified everyone and sent a cold chill through their spine. Killings like this on Heaven's Gate competition was a usual thing and the crowd didn't fear the blood and deaths. However, what terrified them was how the ghost killed Orion. He was quick as lightning and Orion didn't even get the chance to raise his sword at him or defend himself. Dumb F******cur, Gaia sighed and cursed looking at his dead body. The loud shout was the only thing he did on the fighting stage. Orion didn't even have a chance at attacking, he didn't even have the time to show his combat skill and combat weapon. The loud shout was his only performance on the fighting stage. Michael's face showed an expression of indifference and he didn't even take a look at the dead body lying on the ground. Neglecting the thousands of shocked eyes on him, he jumped down from the fighting stage. He made living by assassinating people, and killing Orion didn't feel any different. Michael even gave him the chance to surrender, and his classmates told him not to fight, but he ignored all of them because of his arrogance and paid the price with his life. Holy shit. What just happened? How could he be so fast? This is too shocking. Just how powerful is the ghost? He killed someone who was 4 levels higher than him. He killed him like swatting a bug. That Orion kid should have surrendered. Did you guys see that? The ghost didn't even blink his eyes when he killed. He's actually looking down on the Morningstar sect. Just with his attitude and courage alone, he has my respect. Everybody was still shocked, and the square was once again in uproar. Only Clara and her group knew the outcome 100% sure. The fear and respect towards the ghost had once again risen everyone's hearts. Thank God that bullying son of a bitch is dead. Yeah, I too secretly wanted him to die. Damn it. He killed one of us. Some of them from the Morningstar looked relieved while some of them looked pissed off. But many of them were looking at Evan Clark, their ultimate hope and the trump card in their sleeve. I want him to be matched with Evan. I bet Evan will beat him in combat, that's for sure. Withstanding pressure and fighting head-to-head is entirely two different things. Evan Clark was the representative of the Morningstar sect in this competition, and his abilities were extraordinary, unlike Orion. After a few minutes, the first round came to an end. 12 participants had been eliminated, and the remaining 12 would continue fighting. Just like before, they would draw plates and fight the ones who picked the same number as them. Again, Victoria Parker and Evan Clark were having a field day as their opponents surrendered the moment they saw them. On the other hand, Hannah Barry and Nyla Reed from the Silver Moon fought with the disciples of Golden Valley and killed them by beheading them without a second thought. This time, when Michael came to his fighting stage, he saw a level 4 body refining stage youth standing before him. But the moment he saw him, he took a few steps back and threw his sword on the ground. I surrender. After he said that, he turned around and jumped off the fighting stage. He just witnessed Orion, who was a level higher than him, getting killed in a second, so the youth didn't dare to fight the ghost. Looking at him retreating, he didn't make fun of him or do anything but jumped off the stage. After the second round, there were only 6 people left. Evan Clark from the Morningstar, Victoria Parker, and another girl from the Golden Valley, Hannah Barry, and Nyla Reed from the Silver Moon and the Ghost from Sunrise Sect. The crowd felt goosebumps looking at the 6 of them because no matter how they paired with, it would be a battle worth watching. Let the fighting continue. Selena said in a strict manner as she waved her hand and threw out another 6 plates again. This time, Michael's opponent was none other than Nyla Reed from the Silver Moon, a prodigy. Unlike before, the 3 fights didn't happen simultaneously. And surprisingly, Victoria Parker and the girl from her sect chose the same number, which resulted in the girl surrendering to Victoria. The crowd was disappointed, but it was not something they weren't expecting either. But they didn't expect Hannah Barry to surrender to Evan Clark, which was a huge bummer to the crowd as they started to boo at Hannah Barry. Chapter 32. Because of the 2 previous bummers, Michael's and Nyla Reed's fight had become the center of attention during this third round. Everyone's gaze was on Michael and Nyla Reed. A fight between these two, who would be the last one standing. Even Evan Clark and Victoria Parker were watching this with serious expressions. They all wished to know more about his abilities. Under everyone's gaze, 2 figures simultaneously jumped onto the third fighting stage. These 2 were Michael, who was dressed full black, and Nyla Reed, who was wearing leather trousers and a blue long fur coat. Who do you guys think will win? It is hard to say who will win. We don't know the extent of Ghost's power, and we have only seen him fight once. It's indeed hard to tell, but Nyla's seduction skill is unparalleled. Her seduction skill and her ability to confuse someone's mind is not something to take lightly. On the fighting stage, Michael stood opposite Nyla. Her body was soft and curvy, she had a perfect muscle-to-fat ratio and a perfect structure. A pair of blue eyes checked out Michael and scanned his body from bottom to the top. Warning. The opponent is trying to attack the host telepathically. Firewall activated. The firewall he bought to prevent Gaia from trying anything funny when she merged with him now stopped Nyla. Does the host wish to eliminate the intruder or punish the intruder? Suddenly the people were startled to hear Nyla scream as they saw a golden light shot out from Ghost's eyes at Nyla. What's wrong? What happened? The disciples of the Sunrise Sect were confused and looking at Nyla's body as blood started to pour out of her eyes, nose and mouth. The crowd and the youngster became extremely shocked because he didn't even raise a finger against her, but she seemed to be in agony. Even the celebrity disciples had no idea what kind of spell he just used. What did he do? Oh my God. Another turmoil appeared in the square. Many of the people couldn't understand the reason behind Nyla's agony and scream. Just as she was screaming and rolling on the ground, Michael slowly started to walk towards her. Human, what did you do? Look at her carefully, Gaia. If someone tried to mess with my mind, this is the result. Gaia felt extremely afraid as she was glad she didn't try to do anything after he nearly killed her in the tavern room. Is he going to kill her? Why is she not surrendering? Sadie and the rest of the Silvermoon girls were looking and shouting at Nyla as Michael grabbed her by the neck and lifted her up. She was shaking and trying to land her feet on the ground, but he lifted her higher with just one hand, and on the other hand, the lighting cracks started to appear. Beezizi, did you really think you could play with my mind? He asked coldly as she kept gasping for air. Ghost, don't. From standing on the top, Sadie shouted at Michael, fearing that he would kill her junior in cold blood. Nyla. Surrender. Give me one reason why shouldn't I kill her. Human, what are you doing? Gaia knew it was not his style negotiating without killing her. I will pay you. Sadie remembered that Orion said Ghost took his quest and one would only take a quest from the guild for one reason, coins. I'm listening. Is he for real? He's making a deal on the fighting stage. Sadie was relieved to hear him. 5,000 gold. Now the crowd gasped for air hearing the amount as Michael let out a small smile. Make it 10. How dare you turn this competi? Shut up, Alex. Alex couldn't bear to see these two turn this prestigious competition and fighting stage into a marketplace, but Sadie was not in the mood to take shit from Alex. Deal, now please let her go. It was not his style to let someone go after they tried to kill him, but when he was about to kill her, the system warned him and recommended him to reconsider. It was the first time the system warned him like that, and he also realized why the system warned him, because killing Nyla Reed would surely piss off the people of Silvermoon, especially Sadie, and he was not strong enough to take on her or Silvermoon. So he chose to use Nyla to earn some money and the favor of Sadie because he had already messed with Morningstar, and it would be good to have an ally behind him until he became stronger. Alright, a deal's a deal, as he said. He threw Nyla towards the Silvermoon girls, and Hannah Berry was there to catch her friend. Nyla, are you alright? She was still coughing blood and trying to gasp for air. Slowly with time, the blood flowing out of her nose and ears stopped, but her face still looked frightened and pale. When she landed on the fighting stage, she had immediately applied her seduction skill on Ghost and tried to confuse him. But she had never expected that her seduction skill would not affect him. Not only his mental capacity was beyond her imagination, but also her telepathic attack backlashed and almost took her life. Thank you, Nyla said, looking at Sadie gratefully. She had already witnessed Ghost's approach. He was not someone who would show mercy just because she was a girl. There was no doubt in her mind that if it wasn't for Sade, he would have killed her. You've done me a great favor by sparing my junior. Ghost, if there's anything you require my help, feel free to ask me, Sadie laughed as she said, standing on the top. Her words were meant to openly seduce him. Lucky bastard. Some of the disciples from the sects cursed him, looking at the way she talked to him. She was being flirty, and if he wanted, he could spend the night with her alone. However, Michael just nodded with an uninterested smile. Compared to Gaia, these women from the Silvermoon are just some run-of-the-mill girls. With this battle, the finalists had been revealed and the crowd erupted in cheers for the upcoming fights. Until now, Victoria and Evan hadn't fought a single battle. All of their opponents had given up before even attempting to fight. Only Michael, the dark horse, was the treat for their eyes as he kept their spirit up without boring them. Every time he appeared on the battle stage with his charisma and power, he would treat them with a memorable battle. Nobody had expected him to be that strong, as there was not much known about his strength previously. He had won all of his battles, and after seeing his battle power, they even doubted that Evan and Victoria could defeat him because he seemed extremely powerful for a level 1 body refining stage warrior. Final fight will be between Ghost versus Evan, Clark versus Victoria Parker, announced Selena, and just by hearing the names, the crowd felt goosebumps all over their bodies. The crowd was sure that these three would definitely fight each other without surrendering. Hey, do you think Ghost can defeat them? I think Evan and Victoria would try to eliminate him before they fight each other. After all, if Ghost won the final, it would bring shame to both the sects. You're overestimating the new guy. He's just a level 1 cultivator, while Evan and Victoria both are level 8. It's not a small difference, is it? They wanted to see how Ghost would last against Victoria and Evan. But whoever wins the competition, this would surely be a great battle to watch. The final will begin in 10 minutes on the battle stage 1-inch. Victoria and Evan were surrounded by their classmates discussing their strategy while Michael relaxedly came to where the Sunrise people were standing. Brother Ghost. The girls and boys of Sunrise Sect felt more attached to him due to his easygoing behavior, while the elders too slowly started to come to an understanding that he's now a disciple of their sect. Young man, what's your real name? Where did you come from? A genius like you can't be a nobody. Reaching the 100th step and defeating a genius like Nyla without even laying a finger on her wasn't something a normal person could do. With his low-level cultivation, it should have been impossible, but the youngster before them did just that. Hearing Elder Sandra's question, Michael smiled. I don't have a real name. I came from a very distant land, and back there people used to call me Ghost, so it became my real name. Since he had to put on various disguises and lie constantly to reach his target, Michael was very proficient at lying, and because of that, the elders couldn't see any signs of him lying as they believed everything he just said. What you just did, making a deal on the battle stage? Elder Miles frowned, thinking what he did was dishonorable, but Michael waved his hand. Does this old dog want us to go to war with Silver Moon? Gaia was not happy with Elder Mila's question as she shouted in Michael's mind. Elder, I think there's a fine line between courage and stupidity. That Silver Moon girl is a genius, and killing a genius is not as simple as killing a normal disciple. If I killed her, not only they would have attempted to take revenge on me, but also they would have attacked our whole sect. That won't be a favorable situation for us, would it? He's right, Elder Miles, we can't afford to offend these people, Claire said as the other elders and the disciples nodded their heads. But how do you plan to face Evan and Clark? They won't be easy as Nyla, and as you have said, you can't kill them. I just beat the crap out of them easy peasy, even though by now they had realized he's a freak of nature. Looking at him talk without a worry about the upcoming battle still shocked them. Young man, don't be too cocky. I've seen them fight. They are extremely talented and have many powerful spells in their arsenal. Elder, trust me, they can't even lay a finger on me. Chapter 33. If someone else had said this, they would have burst into laughter and knocked him on the head, but when it comes to this freak of nature, they could not tell that he will lose to Evan and Victoria. For the last battle, the 3 remaining participants will step onto stage 1. The last one remaining on stage will be the winner. The battle will begin in a minute. Alright, it's time to show them who's the new boss here. Michael brushed away the dust on his shoulder and turned around to go to the battle stage. When he was about to take a step forward, someone grabbed him by his hand and he turned and saw the worried face of the sect leader Claire. All the best. If he could win the tournament and give the rewards to the sect, she could settle a portion of the debt to the debt collectors and buy some of their lands back. With Ghost, they now had the chance to survive without closing their gates. Thank you, sect leader. He patted the sect leader's soft hands and smiled. Evan and Victoria were already on their way to the stage and the crowd was waiting for him. While his black robes and hair were fluttering in the wind, he walked towards the stage and landed on the stage with a simple leap. Looking at the 2 stars of the younger generation and the dark horse of this tournament, the crowd was really excited. The last battle was finally going to start. Victoria's strength was obviously incredible. And Evan was just as powerful as Victoria, and when these two were fighting, their fight became more than a battle between 2 individuals, as their fight would represent the clash of 2 big sections. And finally there was the dark horse, Ghost, who seemed extremely powerful and a freak. After seeing what he could do, no one underestimated him. Looking at his low-level cultivation. Step down, you 2 can't defeat me, said Victoria suddenly in an extremely arrogant way. She looked like she was showing disdain for everything and everyone. Don't be too arrogant, Victoria, Evan calmly replied to her. You never learn, said Victoria and closed her eyes for a moment. Immediately after, a gigantic golden phoenix made of arch energy had appeared behind her back. The phoenix looked like a holographic image, but only more realistic and majestic. It must be the flaming phoenix spell of the Golden Valley. She learned it. They said the spell can only be learned by someone who is worthy. People muttered and stared at Victoria with a dumbstruck look on their faces, and even Evan was startled to see the power coming from the phoenix. She definitely deserves to be called the Princess of Golden Valley. She learned the flaming phoenix and it looked so strong and powerful. The crowd was trembling, but suddenly a blue light radiated from Evan's body. On his back appeared a white tiger, and then, the holographic tiger roared and trembled the entire area with its might. Cool. Michael couldn't help but be impressed by the spells cast by these 2, as he felt like he was watching a magic show from a front row seat. The majestic tiger. It must be an ancient spell. I can even feel the power the tiger is radiating. This is worth the trip. Evan is so strong. I still can't predict who would win this fight. Many people were filled with emotion when they saw how strong Evan was and how beautiful Victoria was. They were filled with admiration and worship looking at these 2. And since the crowd was mostly composed of men, Victoria drew most of their attention with her beauty. Not only was she extremely gorgeous, but she was also extremely talented. They were very excited to see how she would develop and what other powers she would show in the future. She's extremely powerful and has the Flaming Phoenix. With that spell, she would be almost invincible. I'm not sure. Evan hasn't revealed his full strength yet, so it is impossible to judge. Hey, don't forget about the ghost. My guts tell me that he would win this thing. Everybody was giving their own opinion about who was going to win or lose. But many of them thought that it's either Victoria or Evan. Only a few of them thought Ghost had a chance to win. Even if he was now regarded as someone extremely powerful, the crowd still thought that there were only two people who had a chance to win within the three remaining participants. Two amazing and mighty cultivators of Breedia Kingdom, Victoria Parker and Evan. On the other side, a mysterious yet powerful youngster. The three of them were on the stage, each of them standing in a triangle formation as Victoria was staring at Evan from the beginning. Evan was also continuously staring at her. They were staring at each other as if they were fighting a one-on-one battle. While they were engaged in a staring contest, Michael seemed very relaxed, thinking about which skill to invest his badass points after upgrading his cultivation. After a while, Victoria's attention was finally drawn away from Evan. She had an arrogant smile on her face. You're somewhat okay. If you wish, you can leave that lowly sect and join us, the Golden Valley. If you do so, I can personally help you with cultivation once in a while. Victoria had a huge smile on her face. She looked completely arrogant. She didn't do it on purpose, but could not hide the arrogance which had been engraved into her very soul. Michael didn't like her calling the Sunrise sect as lowly because compared to them, they taught humanity to their students. Even though he was not a saint to preach about humanity, he was not that bad to watch innocent people get massacred without raising a finger. In a world that was as cruel as this one, he started to value kindness and compassion more and more. You want to help me in cultivation? He hid his true emotions and asked. This girl seemed to have considered her as the world's best and completely arrogant down to the last fiber of her being, as expected. Indeed, I, personally, can help you in cultivation, said Victoria, who didn't know what he really meant. She even thought that he was feeling very honored. You have to understand that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I don't usually take on mentoring programs, but for you, I can make an exception. Can we kill this bitch now, human? Victoria's arrogance nauseated Gaia, and she couldn't wait to see him teach this arrogant girl a lesson. Yet, Victoria's proposition was really tempting to common people. Many ordinary cultivators would have dreamt of being offered such an opportunity. To have a mentor not only as powerful as she but also pretty and sexy, was simply a dream come true for many disciples of Golden Valley. Imagine Victoria coming to my room to teach me. Dude, you're drooling, lucky bastard, getting such offers from two of my dream girls. Many people in the crowd envied Michael so much and were looking on with eyes full of jealousy. But for Michael, she was just a joke, since he has the best mentor in the world, the system, and besides he already has an arrogant snake to deal with and didn't want another one. I should feel honored? He asked in a joking and teasing tone. She still failed to realize his sarcasm, unlike Evan. Why wouldn't you feel that way? Asked Victoria with a smaller smile on her face than before. I pass. You're not good enough to teach me how to cultivate or anything for that matter. The moment these words left his mouth, the whole stadium went dead silent, and in Evan's eyes, he looked far more arrogant and narcissistic than Victoria. After hearing him, her face reddened in anger as she started to tremble in anger. How dare you? Victoria shouted extremely aggressively in an ice-cold tone. Can we just fight and get this over with? Michael shook his head without minding her throwing a temper tantrum and asked Evan. Who do you think you are? Today I will break your arrogance in your body. The flaming phoenix behind her opened its mouth and breathed a stream of illusionary fire. And then immediately, her entire body was covered with a magnificent golden light looking like rays of the sun. This magnificent view stunned the eyes of the people in the crowd. Flaming Phoenix, how awesome, said the crowd, amazed. At that moment, Victoria's body looked majestic and radiated a divine aura around her. Evan Clark, I will defeat you first and show who's the real genius of our generation. Her long hair was fluttering in the air and coupled with the golden aura which had surrounded her body. The eyes of the crowd sparkled at the sight of her. And then I will deal with you. She didn't even look at Michael, as now all of her focus was on Evan and the white tiger. Might of Phoenix, supreme slap. She made an incredibly loud noise as Evan saw that she was about to attack. He did the same and started an attack with a loud shout. He didn't think that his majestic tiger spell was going to be weaker than her flaming phoenix spell. However, when they were both going to be at each other's throats, a bolt of lightning passed right between them, breaking their confrontation. You two should attack me at once. I don't want the people to think that I only beat you because you two wasted all your energy fighting each other. Human, what the F*** K are you doing? Let them fight each other and then we can beat the last one standing. For a moment, everyone in the stadium stopped moving and looked like statues hearing him. Logically speaking, he should have let Evan and Victoria fight first and tried to defeat the one standing because the last one standing would have wasted most of their strength defeating the other and wouldn't have much strength to fight him. Yet, he stopped them and asked them to attack him together and they looked at him like they were looking at the dumbest person on the planet. You're the weirdest human I've ever met. Happy Christmas to all my wonderful readers. I must tell you that you guys and gals are the best. Have a piece of yummy cake and hot chocolate. Temekil and Gaia will meet you more often from January. P.S. Don't forget to write a review and support my hard work. Chapter 34. Ha, are you kidding me? I started to respect you when you step on the 100th step, but it seems like you let that get to your head and turned into more like her. With your level, you'll never be able to withstand any of my attacks. Evan Clark sneered at Michael and looked offended by him when he asked to attack him together. Really? He asked indifferently and noticed the white tiger behind him growing bigger and bigger. The power the white tiger radiated made the people watching the scene shiver, but he was pretty calm and cool. Sensing the colossal oppressing straight coming from the white tiger, Victoria waited to see how Ghost was going to defend himself and until now he didn't take his weapon out. Wrath of Tiger. Evan shouted and punched the air in the direction where Michael is standing as the tiger leaped at him. Lightning Dash. Looking at the tiger coming in his direction, he calmly activated the Lightning Dash skill and moved towards Evan like a lightning bolt. The Lightning Dash skill reminded him of the famous DC character Flash as the skill made him the Flash of this world. Although he couldn't compare to the actual speed of Flash, the level 1 Lightning Dash made him run at an insane speed as many people could only see a bolt of lightning whenever he activated the skill. In a few seconds after he disappeared from where he was standing, the tiger's gigantic paw hit the place and emitted an extremely loud explosion. Boom! Evan Clark's facial expression immediately changed as he sensed he struck nothing but the empty ground and felt a mild pain on his throat like he was bitten by an ant. What happened? How is he still alive? When the white tiger's figure faded away after the attack, the crowd saw Ghost was still standing there without realizing that he had already moved and attacked Evan. When Michael saw that Evan Clark had a bewildered look on his face, he said while smiling coldly, "You lost." The crowd was confused when he said that, but Victoria and Evan realized the meaning of his word. A small cut on Evan's throat started to become visible and blood leaked out from his throat. If the cut was a few more inches deep he would have died, and thinking about this he shuddered in fear. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 100 badass points. Selena and the three prodigies standing on the top saw what happened more clearly than Victoria and the crowd due to their higher cultivation level. They knew that Evan's reaction speed was much slower and if Ghost wanted to kill him, he would have killed him. I lost. After realizing that Ghost spared his life, Evan admitted the loss right away with dignity and jumped down the stage without looking at anyone. Michael could only sigh in his heart as he just lost a huge amount of experience due to the system's warning about killing Evan. And Evan admitting his defeat right away was a little anticlimactic for him because Michael had thought he would admit arrogantly and refused to back down, which could have resulted in more fight and more badass points. Why did he say he lost? What did I miss? Idiot, look at his throat. Can you see he was bleeding, and who do you think could have done that? The crowd slowly started to guess what happened when they noticed the blood leaking out of Evan's throat and swallowed a mouthful of saliva looking at Ghost. How fast? What kind of spell did he use? They used to think that even though Michael proved himself in the battle with Orion, most of them still didn't think he would be stronger than Evan and Victoria in terms of actual battle prowess. However, at this moment they really thought that he was stronger than both of them. Elder Miles and the people of the Sunrise sect were also watching Michael and started to think very highly of him. They had thought that Michael wasn't that strong before, but after seeing what just happened to Evan, they realized how ignorant they had been. Even though we don't know him well, he's obviously a real genius. He must have been gifted ever since his birth. With him as our disciple, we really have a shot at reviving our sect again. First time in a long time. Elder Mark breathed a sigh of relief, and he really believed they could use him to revive their declined sect. You rely on your speed too much, and if you think you can do the same thing you did to Evan, you are going to be disappointed. Victoria sounded arrogant and self-confident again. She had recovered from her previous emotions. Relying on her rare Flaming Phoenix spell and a defense spell, she tried to break Michael's confidence. Speed? I don't need to rely on the speed to defeat you. You're thinking yourself too highly. Just as everyone was thinking he would do the same to Victoria, he raised both hands as several bolts of lightning and a huge blast of wind appeared in front of him. Flame of Phoenix, Victoria's pupils were suddenly dilated as she quickly shouted. The phoenix above her breathed a hot stream of fire and clashed with his lightning bolts and wind blast. But when the fire met the wind blast, it was pushed away from him and put off in a few seconds. As for the lightning bolts, it didn't even slow down a bit as it went straight through the flames and hit her body with enormous power. The moment the lightning bolts plus the remnant force of the wind blast and the golden layer of defense she had around her body clashed, a thunderous roar spread throughout the stadium. Boom! Victoria groaned as she was already blown backward and looked extremely fragile and weak. She slid back to the edge of the fighting stage. One more step backward and she would have fallen off. At that moment, the crowd didn't know what was going on anymore, they were too confused. Michael had astonished them too many times. Each time Michael moved, they found him amazing, but each time they also realized they had been underestimating him. It seemed like his strength was ever increasing. None of them couldn't guess the depth of his powers. At this exact moment, he bested two of the superstars of the younger generations quickly and easily. They remembered how they had thought that either Evan Clark or Victoria Parker was definitely going to win this competition and had put no one else in their eyes. The crowd was not the only one to think that way. Alex and Selena, but especially the latter, when she first met him, he was such a weakling and never even reached the body refining stage. He was barely able to escape her using some weird spell. At that point she only thought he obtained these spells through luck. When he was put up to fight with Evan and Victoria, she had never imagined that he would easily beat them. What a freak of nature! Sadie's eyes widened looking at him, and she was glad that he made a deal to save her junior, considering even Evan and Victoria were defeated so easily by him. "Do you still think you have the talent to teach me?" said Michael while walking towards her as he blatantly humiliated her. Michael was filled with annoyance because of this arrogant girl's behavior, but what enraged Michael the most was that this girl didn't show a shred of respect towards anyone. In her mind, she thought she was superior to everyone and expected others to worship and respect her. He couldn't stand this arrogant and haughty girl who didn't even withstand a single attack from him. For the first time in her entire life, she was starting to feel ashamed of herself when she remembered what she had said. She felt like she was made a clown in front of all these people. "Join your sect, meet you now and then. Who do you think you are? What made you think that I would ever want to meet you?" Michael continued to talk and made her understand how ridiculous she was and that she had no right to be arrogant. Victoria had the feeling that her face was burning. She had no words to speak to refute back at him. The crowd hadn't been so excited as at that moment. He gradually was showing more and more strength, he was gradually becoming more and more awesome. At first, he shocked the entire stage by stepping on the 100th step and creating a new record, and now he had bested the two prodigies without breaking a sweat. There's a fine line between arrogance and confidence. Think about it. The crowds looked forward to what he was going to do as he stepped closer to Victoria and stood only a step away from her. Ah! Just like in the movies, Michael Sparta kicked her on the chest and sent her flinging from the stage. "Sister Victoria." The disciples from the Golden Valley boys and girls rushed at her and caught her without letting her hit the ground. "He won. He won. Ghost." The crowd erupted in cheers and filled the stadium with the sound of their thunderous claps as Michael stood there alone on the battle stage. The four prodigies from the top saw Victoria's unconscious body and sighed because this was the first time the rewards were going to another sect other than their three big sections. Brother Ghost won. Sect leader Claire Elders, he won. Just as the disciples of the Sunrise sect became excited, they saw Celine throwing a small ring to Ghost from standing on the top. "The rewards are in the space ring." After she said that, she and Alex didn't even come down as they flew away on their flying swords while Adam nodded at him and left with them. The only person who came down to the stage was Sadie. "The gold coins of our little deal are also in that space ring. Keep it safe and congratulations on your victory, Ghost." "Thank you, Miss Kaplan. See you later. After all this, I need a long nap." He was obviously the biggest winner of this competition, an unknown rogue cultivator who appeared as a dark horse, defeating all the disciples from the three big sects and taking first place in the first round as well as the second round. He had now become truly famous, and the name Ghost would soon be spread across the entire Breedia kingdom, and everyone would know his name. Congratulations to Master Ghost for taking first place in Heaven's Gate competition. We'll be leaving first, but if the Master Ghost has time in the future, you're always welcome to visit the Silver Moon and we will personally give you a VIP treatment. Hannah Berry let out an alluring smile and started to flirt with him. "This bitch disgusts me." Gaia shouted angrily, and the way she shouted was definitely not the way she shouts at Michael. As she said, she and the rest of the Silver Moon students left the square, and considering he did not belong to the three big sects, none of the disciples from the three sects remained any longer. Please join my Discord server to share your ideas and thoughts. Also, you get to see Michael and the characters' photos. Chapter 35. At the end of it all, only the people from the Sunrise sect were still staying. Brother Ghost. You really did it. Compared to the boys, the girls were more excited as they surrounded him like the ants around the sugar. Elder Mark put his hand on Michael's shoulder and gave a nod of appreciation. System, transfer 35,000 gold from the ring to the storage. Ding. Transfer successful. I should give this to you. After transferring the amount he received from Sadie, he gave the ring to sect leader Claire. At first, she looked reluctant to take the ring, but after looking at the other elders, she took the ring from him. No offense, but just don't ask me to wear these orange uniforms because those are fugly, haha. All the disciples from the sect burst into laughter hearing him because they themselves knew the orange uniforms were far too ugly, and it was good to hear someone openly saying this to the elders. Since the elders were in a good mood, they too laughed and the atmosphere became very lively. First, we should return to the sect and settle some of our debt, Elder Sandra sighed. At the moment, Michael was following the elders to the sect through a rural road, and his black robes had a tint of brown due to the dust. Brother Ghost, you never told us where you came from? One of the girls asked him curiously. Well, since I was born, I never stayed in the same place for long. I like to travel, so I can't give a direct answer to your question. What about your parents, Brother Ghost? I don't have any. Even though he answered this question too many times while he was growing up, it still hurt him to say it again. A sudden change appeared in their faces when they heard him. I'm sorry, Brother Ghost. Don't be, it's all right. His gentle smile made the girl quickly forget about this, and because of his easygoing behavior, they felt comfortable around him and established a good relationship with him. Young man, then how did you cultivate to this point? Those spells you used looked extremely rare and precious. Elder Mild joined the conversation and asked. As I said, Elder Mark, I traveled a lot, met many people, explored many ruins. Since I don't have anyone to teach me or help me in the cultivation path, I have to do all that not to waste my talents. Worry not anymore, young man. Even though we don't have many resources to provide you, we can teach you and guide you on the right path, Elder Mark proudly said as he patted on his back. All disciples of the Sunrise felt proud looking at him, almost putting him on top of this world. None of them were idiots, especially after witnessing what he was capable of. For such a freak of nature like him, even if he was in the three big sects, he would be amongst the top disciples, and the sect's management would put a lot of focus on him. Besides, after today's competition, his name would spread across the Breedia Kingdom, so he was now a superstar of the younger generation. Since now even the worst of the outer disciples of the three big sects ridicule them and their sect as well as bully them whenever they could. However, with him as their core disciple, which the elders would surely make him as one, they had the means to walk head high in front of those who mocked them. And don't think that you don't have a family, young man, as Elder Miles said, we don't have resources but we treat everyone in our sect as our family, and now you have become one of us. Elder Sandra slightly brushed his head like a mother and smiled at him. For the first time in his long life, his heart felt warm as he smiled. He had quite a good impression of the people in the sect. They were poor in wealth but very rich in kindness. Although he was once the greatest assassin/hitman ever lived on the earth, he was a lonely man as he had no family, no friends, no girlfriend, and no one even saw his real face except for his mentor. All he had was his job and a shitload of money in his offshore accounts and affection towards his job. But in this life he wanted to change that. He wanted relatives, he wanted a wife, and he wanted some people to rely on and friends. In this life he simply didn't want to be lonely. We must guide him to reach higher levels of cultivation. Alex and Selena wouldn't let go of the fact he refused to back down and stood side by side on the top of the stairs, Elder Mark said worriedly while walking. Everyone's happy expression turned gloomy, even Elder Miles furrowed his brows. Don't worry about them, Elder Mark, it's just a matter of time before I surpass them, and then if they cross my path, I'll kill them, he said with a casual smile, but the disciples noticed the murderous intent in his eyes and felt a little afraid. Michael and the Sunrise Sect disciples were talking along the way until they finally reached their destination. Sunrise Sect used to be an extremely prestigious and strong sect several decades ago. It was even more prestigious and powerful than the three big sects at its peak. However, since Claire's grandfather died during one of his adventures and the previous sect leader, her father, disappeared, the entire sect's prestige fell drastically. Claire relied on her extraordinary innate talents and the scarce amount of resources at her disposal to cultivate up to her current stage. In just a short span of 26 years, she reached the body refining stage and took the helm of the sect leader position after. The entire Sunrise sect relied heavily on her and the pair of sect elders to uphold the entire sect. Their days were difficult and rough, and the minute he stepped through the gates of the sect, their poor situation became obvious to his eyes. Many of the buildings he had seen were broken down and old. It was clear that it had been many years since their last renovation. Several backyards were full of dried leaves, and the numerous cobwebs show how long it's been uncared for. During their conversation, the disciples told him that the total number of disciples within the sect was around 30. Next to him, the strongest disciples were at the foundation stage level 8. And the rest of them were below foundation stage level 5. Since the sun was almost down and he was pretty tired, sect leader Claire gave him their best house with a yard to live in. At this point he was already at the first level of the body refining stage. But he only needed 3 or 4 days to reach level 5 of the body refining stage with the experience points on hold. "Brother Ghost, it's not much, but this is the best house we got." The disciple called Jack led him to an old worn-out house, and according to him, it was their best house. "If this is their best house, just imagine what the other house would look like. Even my maids wouldn't stay in there," Gaia growled, looking at the dried front lawn and the old house behind it. Jack looked embarrassed, but Michael smiled and gave a small pat on his shoulder. "It's okay, Jack, this is good enough for me." With a smile and nod, Jack left him on the lawn as he sighed and entered the house. The house had a small hall and a room with an attached bathhouse, and that was it. There wasn't even any furniture to sit on except the old bed in the room. "Look at that." The tour ended before even it begins. Gaia jumped out of his body and kicked the pebble lying on the ground. "We can renovate the place later, but for now," as he said, he entered the system shop and purchased a huge white sofa, a small-sized golden silk bed along with high-end blankets, and placed them all around the room. "What the F*** K? Where did you get those? You carry these in your space ring everywhere." Her eyes sparkled looking at the sofa and the bed in front of her. She wanted to jump into the fluffy bed, considering it was too long since she ever laid on a bed. Before Gaia, he jumped into the bed as an evil grin appeared on his face, thinking of a new way to tease her. "Come on, don't be shy, the bed is small so we can sleep while cuddling each other, hee. You." Gaia became extremely furious and shocked as she stared at him. After stuttering for a few minutes, she couldn't find a fitting word to curse him. As a princess and a powerful cultivator of Nagaland, she had never been shamelessly hit on like this before. And what made her even more furious was the way he asked her. "You F*** king F*** carry F*** cur." She leaped at him with mouth open like a wild dog to bite him. Yet, he moved to the side as she landed face first on the bed, and when she turned around, he was on top of her. She tried to shout, but her throat tightened and face turned red because this was the first time she had been this close to a man. She swallowed a mouthful of saliva and looked at his eyes while her heart started to punch against her chest as she could feel the heat coming from his nose and sensed the fragrance of his face. "What are you?" She was powerless, and she knew if he wanted to take advantage of her, there was no stopping it. "Geez, would it kill you to apply some makeup?" As he asked, he moved to the side as she was frozen by his comment for a moment. "H." Michael suddenly felt a sharp pain in his hand and looked at his arm to see she was furiously biting it in anger like a little girl. "Did you at least brush your teeth?" Yo. She became even more furious when she heard him and put more strength to bite his hand. Michael laid down on the bed as he stared out of the window, watching the beautiful moon and the beautiful girl on the sofa before him. The light from the moon reflected on her figure and made her look extraordinarily beautiful. Even if she tried to dress as a ghost to scare him, it would have been impossible due to how beautiful she is. "Hey, what?" After what happened on the bed, there was a tint of shyness in her eyes, but she masked it with an annoyed expression. "I'm going to break through, so you have to keep anyone from disrupting my cultivation." Michael sat upright and said, "This soon? You just had reached the body refining stage 2 days ago." She frowned and didn't believe he could break through again, but after spending time with him, she knew this freak of nature might be telling the truth. "Cultivation is a walk in the park for a talented person like me." He winked at her. Gaia had never met a more narcissistic, self-praising human like him before, as he now looked like the definition of pride. "What can I do? Bite whoever comes knocking? You have to give me something to get back some of my power." For a moment she resembled a sly fox. As for what she meant by something, he knew she wants a healing pill to heal her meridians. "Here, you greedy snake." He already bought 1 pill from the shop as he threw it at her. "Only 1. She growled when she realized he only gave her 1 pill, and at this rate, it would take at least 200 more pills to completely repair her broken meridians and start cultivating. One now and do this successfully, it'll give you 2 pills, 4 pills, Gaia raised 4 fingers and bargained 3 pills, deal. She proudly smiled praising her bargaining talent and suddenly she remembered something. Why didn't you ask those old curs to do this? I forgot it and it's too late to knock on their doors. Chapter 36. And just when he was about to close his eyes and start upgrading his cultivation, he heard Gaia's shout. Human, I just remembered that I can't show my face to anyone. If someone saw I'm here, the whole Nagaland army would be here along with that bitch. Geez, I have to take care of everything for you and you didn't even give me a kiss on the cheek. Michael rolled his eyes and said like he was really disappointed with her. Stop playing human. This is serious. You want me to protect you or what? System, do you have something for this situation? Hearing her dilemma, she sighed and entered the system to see if he could find anything that could solve this problem. And after a few seconds, a marble face mask appeared before his eyes. Name, Chameleon Class, Rare Function. Enable the wearer to change their face to look like someone else. Cultivators above or at the soul refining stage would see through the effects of the mask. Cost, 800 badass points. Does the host wish to buy the chameleon? Only the host and the subordinates can use the chameleon. Yes, he'll buy it. Since now he had a lot of badass points to spend, he bought the mask without growling at the system. What is that? Gaia saw the marble mask in his eyes and frowned, but without answering her question, he tossed the mask towards her. Wear it. But the marble mad didn't look very special, but it did look ugly in her eyes, so she was reluctant to wear this ugly thing on her face, thinking that he's asking her to hide her identity by wearing it on her face. Just wear the damn thing. But before she could make her case, he raised his voice slightly as she decided to put the mask on and curse him afterward. However, the moment the mask touched her face, it came to life and stuck onto her face as she felt a sharp pain all over her face. Etch. She screamed in pain and tried to peel the mask away from her face, but she couldn't. After a few seconds, the pain disappeared and opened her eyes to see the human was holding a mirror in front of her. Now better, the mask had completely changed her face and lowered her beauty by many notches, but even then, she looked pretty and hot as she even slightly looked like Margot Robbie with black hair. How? Where? Forget it. Looking at a new face staring back at her in the mirror, she ran her fingers through her face. In her mind, she felt like she could transform back into her old self and wondered where he got such a precious item. And when she finished looking at her face, he placed his knife on her hands and said, "Use this only if you absolutely have to." Okay. He didn't want to take any chances, and after consuming the pill, she would regain some of her powers, and with the knife, she could hold the fort until he woke up. And settling everything with her, he jumped on the bed and sat crossed legs to start the upgrading process. Let's start. Chapter 37. Early morning mist began to clear as the sun rose, casting orange and pink onto a thin layer of cloud. The lively chirping of the early birds filled the air. Brother Ghost would have woken by now. I need to hurry. At this moment, a pair of legs rushed forward hurriedly in the direction of the lone house in the mountain. He was no one but Jack, the disciple who settled down Michael and Gaia yesterday. Usually, Jack would feel tired if he ran from his dorms to the core disciple house. However, today he felt energetic. The #1 genius of his generation now belonged to the Sunrise sect, which catapulted their reputation among the sections. Why is the door still closed? Reaching Michael's house, Jack halted his steps to catch his breath and wondered, looking at the closed doors. Knock. Jack knocked on the door, but he was careful not to knock too loudly in case it would disturb Ghost's cultivation. Brother Ghost. There was no reply from inside as Jack knocked again, and this time, he increased the sound of his knocking. Brother Ghost, who the fuck is there? Jack almost jumped back when an annoyed voice came from inside. A few seconds after his brain processed the voice, he realized the voice sounded feminine and nothing like Ghost. Brother Ghost? I must have misheard it, that's what he thought. Go away. Jack heard the same voice again, and this time, the voice sounded even more annoyed as he heard something heavy as a stone hitting the door. Who is there? Panic and uncertainty hit Jack's core. He clenched his fist and shouted loudly. Fucking idiot, I'm gonna beat your ass for disturbing my sleep. Jack quickly stepped back from the door as the door opened to reveal a black-haired girl staring at him furiously. He had no idea how the girl got in or who was she. All he knew was Ghost came alone with them, yet there was another girl inside his house. Who are you? The girl didn't answer him but stared at him while tying her ruffled hair into a ponytail. Nonetheless, he could tell that the girl is annoyed, but he subconsciously relaxed seeing that the girl is just a commoner and not a cultivator. Who the fuck are you? Wait. What? You? Jack couldn't believe what he had just heard. He never thought a delicately beautiful girl like this would have such a foul mouth. For a moment, he had no responses as the girl walked towards him. Cat got your tongue? Why did you wake me up this early, you little shit? Jack was still in shock when Gaia flicked his forehead to make him talk. Who are you? What are you doing in Brother Ghost's room? After a few seconds, Jack was able to speak these words while caressing his forehead. Me? Am your Brother Ghost's mentor, you ignorant fool, ha! However, Jack couldn't help but burst into laughter when he heard the girl. The girl before him spoke these words with a straight face and didn't even bat an eye, speaking such a huge lie. She was shameless beyond words. How could a mortal girl who is at the arch-sensing stage teach a genius like Ghost? The arch-energy in her body was too weak, and even some newborn babies would have more arch-energy inside their bodies than her. What the fuck? Gaia didn't expect such a reaction from this boy. She knew that she had blatantly lied, but he didn't have to rub it in her face like this. You mentor. Brother Ghost. His laughter suddenly turned into a scream as he felt a sharp pain across his butt. He turned to see the girl holding a long stick in her hand and swinging at him with full force, and before he could react, he received another attack. Chit. Damn. Stop it. For a girl who had no arch energy, or rather too little energy, her moves were too quick and swift. In a few seconds, his butt suffered 5 or 6 attacks, and he started to fiercely stroke his rear, disregarding his pride as a man in front of a beautiful girl. Stop it. Ouch ouch. Gaia wasn't going to stop beating his ass no matter how loud he shouted. Don't make ouch, me hit you. His eyes already welled up and his butt turned red, but still, he was taught not to hit a girl, outside of serious battles and tournaments, especially not a mortal girl like her. Hit me and I'll make Ghost rip your throat out, at least H. Tell me who you are. Since he didn't want to take any chance by hitting her, Jack did the next best thing, dodge, and ran away from the reach of her stick. I told you I'm his mentor? But? What's going on here? Just as Gaia was chasing Jack around with the stick in her hand, Elder Mark came to the scene. Jack, what did you do? I didn't do anything. He shouted and felt extremely wrong here, considering this girl kept attacking him with the stick for no reason. He was the victim here, yet Elder Mark asked what did he do? Teacher, I didn't do anything. I came to bring Brother Ghost to the assembly hall, but instead of Brother Ghost, I saw this mortal girl coming out of the house. Mortal? How dare you? She shouted in anger but didn't try to attack Jack, who was hiding behind Elder Mark. Girl, who are you? I'm Ghost's friend. Friend? You said. Let the girl speak, Jack. Jack quickly shut his mouth, but he was so angry and shocked seeing the honest expression she made while talking to Elder Mark. Where's Ghost? Elder Mark, however, seemed not to care about Jack's protest as he asked Gaia. He's attempting to break through. He asked me to don't let anyone disturb him, but Jack tried to do exactly that. She's lying. Breakthrough? This soon? Elder Mark's brows almost touched his head when he heard Gaia and forgot about the ruckus that happened between her and Jack a moment ago. Yes, but soon Elder Mark's reaction changed from shock to panic as he tried to rush forward into the house. Hey! Stop! Gaia jumped in front of him and stopped Elder Mark from taking any steps further. Girl, move aside. If he tried to break through, it will hinder his cultivation in the future. He must first strengthen his cultivation base. Even after hearing Elder Mark, Gaia didn't move an inch as she put both her hands on the hip and said, I don't care about that. He asked me to guard him while he's cultivating. That's what I'm going to do. Besides, that freak wouldn't have entered into the breaking through process if he wasn't sure about this. Leave him be. What do you, a mortal girl, know about cultivation? Move or I'll move you, Elder Mark threatened Gaia as she took out the knife Michael gave her angrily. Who the fuck are you talking to? I know more about cultivation than you, old fart. Chapter 38. What did you just call me? Elder Mark froze in his steps as Jack's jaw dropped down in shock. I said you can't go in there and disturb Ghost. He strictly ordered me not to let anyone inside. Gaia feared if he failed to break through, Ghost would refuse to give her any more pills, so she stood before Elder Mark like a stone pillar, refusing to let Elder Mark go inside. How am I going to hold this old man back? She thought to herself while Elder Mark was stunned. If she had her cultivation, she would have sent Elder Mark flying with a single spell, but now, she was crippled and the only reason for her body to have a little arch energy was the pills that Ghost gave her. How dare you disrespect my teacher? Jack clenched his fist and roared at her. Look, he's deep in cultivation and already started to break through. If you stop him now, it might break his meridians and cripple him. You know that. She reduced the volume of her tone and explained it to Elder Mark before he cast a spell to throw her out of the way. In front of Gaia, when Elder Mark heard her words, he sighed because he knew she was right. Also, he didn't decide to pursue the matter that she just called him an old fart, as he didn't want to lower himself to argue with the mortal girl with his status as an elder. "What's your name, girl? And how do you know Ghost?" Since he couldn't stop Ghost's cultivation, Elder Mark turned his focus to the haughty girl before him and tried to get to know Ghost better. She almost forgot her place and introduced herself as Princess, but she quickly swallowed the remaining words and cleared her throat. "I'm called Elia. I help Ghost in his cultivation by finding him ruins and places to explore." Her words made Elder Mark slightly raise his brows, but when he remembered Ghost's previous claim saying that he explored ruins and places, what she just said made sense. "When did you come here?" "I didn't see you at the competition. I was in the river town packing our stuff to move here." Speaking of the river town, Ghost wanted Jack's help with something. She slowly turned her gaze from Elder Mark to Jack as Elder Mark asked, frowning, "What is it?" He asked Jack to go to River Town and bring Raylene Agner. "Who is that?" "She's one of the survivors we rescued from the Rosewood Village. After 2 days? Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is Body Refining Stage Level 2. Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is Body Refining Stage Level 3. Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is Body Refining Stage Level 4. Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is Body Refining Stage Level 5. Slowly, the interface appeared before Michael as the darkness that surrounded him since he started to upgrade faded away. Finally, he heaved a sigh of relief looking at the interface as he ordered the system to bring him the status window. Host: Michael Cultivation Level, Body Refining Stage Level 5 Experience Points, 0/30000 Badass Points, 15,000 Skills and Spells, Wind Blast LVL2 Responsive Shield LVL2 Environment Scanning LVL1 Ignitia, LVL1 Lightning Dash, LVL1 Energy Devover, LVL1 Occupation. Disciple of Sunrise Sect Status. Healthy Goals: Be the strongest predator in the world. Subordinates: Gaia Loyalty Level 18%. Ding! Host Michael has received a lucky draw. Does the host wish to access the lucky draw? While he was looking at the refined status window, another notification tab in bright blue appeared before him. Lucky draw? What is that? Every time system goes offline for a while, the system would offer one lucky draw as compensation for its absence. Cool, I like free stuff. Open it. As he said, the bright blue tab transformed itself into a golden box, and then, the box exploded with sparks as it presented 3 cards wrapped in red ribbon before him. The host can choose one item for free. 200,000 badass points will be charged for each additional card. Holy shit. 200,000, are you kidding me? No, it was a rhetorical question, you bastard. The number made him go mad at the system, but he soon calmed himself and inspected the first card. The red ribbon on the first card unwrapped itself and presented a beating heart with descriptions about the card. Spell name: Seducer Effect. Make the target instantly fall in love with the host. Upgradable. Yes. Current level. Can affect anyone under the core formation stage. Seriously? I don't need this. System, are you playing with me? He was annoyed by the spell and would have punched the system in the face if it had a physical body. The spell would be useful if the host wants to build a harem of beautiful maidens. Harem. It's a glorified word for cheating, and no, I don't want to go from place to place collecting beauties. In every novel I read, harem would just bring the MC more troubles to deal with, so no, I'm not going to build a harem. Pushing the card away from his view, he opened the second one hoping for something better than the previous one. 100,000 experience points. The second card had no fancy effects such as beating hearts or sparkling pink letters like the previous card, rather it looked simple as a card with 100,000 numbers written on it. Tempting, certainly better than the Seducer. Let me see the last 1 inch. The red ribbon wrapping the third and the final card unwrapped itself as the descriptions about the card appeared. Function name: Banker Function. Enable the system to convert gold coins into badass points. Upgradable. Yes. Current level. Conversion rate between gold coins and badass points equals 1000:1. He blinked in disbelief as his eyes opened wide looking at the card. Then after a few seconds, his lips curved in an upward arc. This is it. The one I've been waiting for. With this, I can earn badass points more easily. His joy seeing the card made him ignore the outrageous conversion rate, and also, he knew that the system won't change the rate because he's whining about it. System, I choose this one. Ding, the host has successfully acquired the level 1 banker. Awesome. System, how much to upgrade this function to the next level? 10,000 badass points. And the conversion rate will be? 1000:5. You're worse than those in the pawnshops system, you know that right? Even though he knew about the system's habit of taking his badass points faster than it gives him, he couldn't help but curse the system when he saw the conversion rate for the level 2 banker, which would cost him 10,000 badass points to upgrade from level 1. Put a lid on the upgrade. First I should find a source of income. To do that, I might need badass points. He closed the lucky draw window and then he took a final glance at his status window. Host Michael, cultivation level, body refining stage, level 5, experience points 0/3000000 badass points, 15,000 skills and spells. Wind Blast, LVL2 Responsive Shield, LVL2 Environment Scanning, LVL1 Ignitia, LVL1 Lightning Dash, LVL1 Energy Devolver, LVL1 Occupation, Disciple of Sunrise Sect status, Healthy goals, be the strongest predator in the world. Utility function, Banker, LVL1, ratio 1000 gold coins, 1 badass points, subordinates, Gaia, loyalty level 18%, time to rock this world. He exited the system full of excitement in his heart. At this moment, his next fun-filled adventure started again. Chapter 39. The bright sun rays made him close his eyes as soon as he opened them. It's great to be back. He turned his head left and right as his neck made a popping sound. Then he brushed away some dust bits on his shoulder and got up from the bed to leave the room. Growling. Jijijijur. What is that noise? He heard some weird noises coming from outside as he made his way out to see what's making these weird noises while looking for Gaia. It didn't take him long to locate the source of the noise and find Gaia. It turned out his couch was occupied by the snake. She was sleeping on the couch like a drunken old man as her one leg was on the couch while the other was on the ground. He could see her knee cups and wide-open mouth. His pillows were drenched in drool. Besides her ungirly posture, there were half-licked clean food bowls and cups lying around. He could tell that this snake filled its belly full of food and drinks before going to sleep on his couch. Princess my ass. Looking at the snoring and drooling snake, he sighed. Ignitia. He conjured a tiny bolt of lightning as he sneaked towards her to give her a shock treatment, literally. Gaia, on the other hand, had no idea of the incoming attack as she was walking towards her throne in the dream. Ah. And just when she was about to sit on her throne in the dream, she was pulled back from the dream world by a sharp tingling pain in her leg. What? She gritted her teeth and quickly rubbed her feet to make the tingling pain go away as Michael chuckled. Did you miss me? Instead of answering, she threw an empty bowl at him in anger as he flicked the bowl away with a smile. What the? You reached the body refining level 5? How? When she took a closer look at him, her mind froze in shock. He just reached the body refining stage 2 days ago, but now in 2 days he leaped from level 1 to level 5. It seems like you had a good time. She saw him glancing at the empty bowls and cups lying around her. Yet she was too stunned to say anything. Come, we have work to do. He didn't wait for her as he walked towards the door and stopped. And clean your mess, said Michael before stepping outside. I'm a princess, you bastard, she mumbled under her breath, but she reluctantly cleaned the bits of food on the couch while cursing him. Brother? A fluffy ball collided with him the moment he stepped outside as he looked down to see Cindy hugging his leg and trying to climb up on his body. Cindy? What are you doing here? He lifted the girl up and ruffled her head playfully. Brother, everyone is here. That kind sister invited us here. Who? Cindy tried to remember the name, closing her eyes as he saw the other kids, and Raylene came running to him. Brother, young master. You're awake. In a few seconds the little kids swarmed him like ants swarm sugar. Raylene, what are you guys doing here? Sect leader Claire brought us here and offered us a place here to permanently settle down, young master. She did? He was genuinely surprised by Raylene's words as the kids nodded their heads. Young master, what should we do? Asked Raylene. Brother, please can we stay with you? The little girl looked at him with puppy eyes while Michael thought about this arrangement. It's indeed better if they stay here, Michael said to himself, and then turned his gaze away from Cindy to Raylene. Make yourself home, Raylene. Yay. Cindy and the kids hopped in joy as he gave Cindy back to her mother. They'll see you guys later. He then turned towards the house and saw Gaia finally making her appearance. Come, let's go meet the elders. He took Gaia and walked towards the direction of a group of 2-story buildings. How long was I cultivating? On their way he asked Gaia. 3 days, you freak of nature. Now give me the pills you promised. Deal's a deal here, you greedy snake. He already bought and stored the pills in the system's storage, so he quickly retrieved the pills and gave them to her. You're drooling. He made fun of her as she looked at the pills like a starved dog looking at a piece of meat. She grabbed the pills in a flash and swallowed them with a huge grin. You're happy? Yes, but don't you have bigger pills? She who is greedy is always in want, he said as he knocked the back of her head. Ouch, you bastard, where did you read that, dumb town? You mean your hometown, asshole, bitch? Two of them fight their way to the elder's place where Michael saw a fancy carriage standing outside. Surrounding the carriage, there were a couple of men who stood guard in light blue metal armor. Who are they? Obviously, Michael knew that neither the carriage nor the guards belonged to the Sunrise sect because the guards and the carriage looked so distinct compared to the worn-out buildings and decayed structures of the sect. An alchemist's carriage, Gaia said and pointed at a symbol of 2 green lives in a silver circle etched onto the carriage's side. The guards gave them an indifferent look when they saw Michael and Gaia as the two of them entered the building to see what's happening inside. This hall they were in was mainly used to receive distinguished guests. Undoubtedly the one inside was a distinguished guest. As Michael reached inside, he saw a middle-aged man sitting in the hall and drinking tea leisurely. He seemed wealthy because of the high-quality robes, the big red gem on his finger, and the rich aura he was radiating. His cultivation was however not very higher as he was just at the body-strengthening stage level 2. Lord Hart. Michael was surprised to see the elders calling him as Lord and sitting on the edge of their chairs while the silver-haired man was sitting before them like he owned the place. The reason for this was very simple. He was a 2-star alchemist and could concoct pills with 15 to 30% purity. In this world, cultivators were everywhere. But possessing special skills such as alchemical skills and reaching the 2-star level was not common. Even if one's cultivation realm was high, it was no guarantee that one would possess special abilities, but with special abilities, it would serve well the path of cultivation. Also, just possessing this profession would definitely heighten one's status and fame. Lord Hart, we need your help to concoct a heart-healing pill this time. You don't need to worry regarding the price. Sect leader Claire walked over with a smile. Her attitude was very humble. The other 3 elders including Elder Mark and Miles were keeping a small smile on their faces. Hearing Claire, Hart said to them indifferently, heart-healing pills are not so easy to concoct, and the cost is not low either. I have several conditions for this. If you don't comply, the deal is off. What conditions? Claire asked. As long as it is within our power, we will agree. Actually, my conditions are very simple. The first condition is to let my students use your herbal garden, he said. Okay, no problem. She thought quite hard about it, but considering their herbal garden had almost dried out and only had a few herbs growing there, she agreed to let them use the remaining herbs. The second condition, the price of the ingredients for the pills are expensive. Since you agreed to my first condition, we can continue the negotiation. As for the materials for concocting the pills, my students will buy them but you need to pay for them. No problem on that as well. The price of the ingredients is obviously expensive, but I do not know how much you need. Not too much. With my fee 5,000 gold coins is enough, he casually stated an astonishing price. After they heard it, they were stunned. 5,000 gold, this was too expensive. For a declined sect like theirs, 5,000 gold coins were not something they could give just like that. Chapter 40, this price. Can you lower it a little? Claire said embarrassedly. Sunrise Sect was not a big organization and it was declined to the point that they would have closed the doors if it wasn't for Michael. As for the 5,000 gold coins, it was not that they didn't have that much money, but using that much at once would hinder the functional operation. This is the lowest price I can offer, Sect Leader Claire. I believe you will understand the price of the required ingredients for the pills and the fee of a 2-star alchemist. Buying the pills outside will at least cost you 600 to 700 per pill. Compared to that, the price I offer is way cheaper. They were all well aware of their current condition of treasury, but they needed those heart-healing pills as soon as possible, so they could only stomach the high rate and accept the price that he asked. Well then, if that is the price you want. Claire sighed and nodded. Idiots, he's clearly ripping them off. Gaia leisurely leaned on the wall and said, looking at the elders and Claire. How come? You didn't notice? Gaia asked him with a slightly surprised face as he shook his head. He's a 2-star alchemist yet, the price he asked is the price of a 3-star alchemist. And 5,000 gold coins are for pills with 45% purity, which is a maximum level a 3-star alchemist could reach. Michael knew about the star levels of special abilities because Abras learned about that stuff, but when Michael searched his brain for the prices, he realized that weird enough, Abras didn't know about the prices of the pills. Do you know about the current rate for pills here? Of course I knew. Pills concocted by 1-star alchemist is 100 to 200 gold coins, 2-star alchemist 200 to 1,000, 3-star alchemist is 1,000 to 500. She paused for a second and recollected the price for the remaining alchemist levels. 4-star alchemist pills will be 500 to 900 gold coins. As for the 5-star alchemist, They would often take artifacts and valuable treasures as a payment rather than gold coins, but if you want to buy a pill concocted by 5-star alchemist with gold coins, the price will start at 10,000 inch. What about 6-star alchemists? He asked casually, even though according to Abras memories, 6-star alchemists were a myth as no one could surpass the purity level 90%. But because Abras had little to no contact or knew about the outside world, he decided to ask Gaia, who seemed to know everything about this world, unlike him or Abras. Don't be stupid, human, 6-star alchemist doesn't exist, it's a myth. He matched the prices Gaia described and the star level information in his mind when Hart stated his last condition. My final condition is, and this is the important one. Hart's voice trailed as the elders and sect leader Claire curiously looked at him. What is it? Her eyebrow wrinkled as this guy was really putting a lot of conditions. I fell in love with someone here, so I wonder if she can become my concubine. If she says yes, I will concoct the pills for free. The elder's expression changed drastically upon hearing his last condition. This was obviously a sweet deal. Concubines were basically mistresses, and it was usual for a man who was rich and had high status in the society to have many concubines. I did not expect Lord Hart to make this request. As long as she accepts to be your concubine, we do not object, Elder Mark said. Concubine my ass, he only wants to have sex with the girl and cast her aside. I know his type. Michael sensed a tinge of disgust in her tone as he curiously looked at Hart to see who that girl is. I agree with Elder Mark, as long as she accepts to be your concubine, I have no problem, but who is your choice? Claire asked with patience. It's you, sect leader Claire, I want you to be my concubine, Hart said with a smile. I knew it. Gaia almost shouted when she heard him as Michael too raised his brows in surprise. He didn't intervene as he wanted to hear Claire's answer, but he entered into the system's interface to turn the situation in his favor. System, tell me you have a way to make me an alchemist. The system recommends the host to buy the Book of Alchemist in the system store. If I buy that, what star level would I reach? The host will be able to concoct pills and potions with the purity level 90%. So I will become a 5-star alchemist. Wonderful. Now give me the bad news. How much is it? 20,000 badass points only? He almost spat out blood when he heard the system say only, with a tone of a salesperson in the TV ads. However, if he could upgrade the banker skill to the next level, he could earn 5,000 points, converting 1 million gold coins. And after hearing what Gaia said, a 5-star alchemist could easily earn more than 1 million gold coins. Yet, he didn't have enough badass points to buy the book and upgrade the banker skill to the next level. If the host wish, the system can give a loan to the host with an interest rate of 10%. The host can settle the loan whenever he could, but the system would increase the interest rate by 5% every 10 months. You can do that? Never mind, he'll take the load. Upgrade my banker skill to level 2 and buy the Book of Alchemist. He ordered the system and prepared himself to endure the sharp pain that would appear in his mind every time he buys a new skill. Just as he expected, he experienced a sharp tingling pain in his brain. He etched the skill of alchemy into his brain cells as he slowly became a 5-star alchemist. And when the pain disappeared, he felt like he could concoct pills as easy as writing and reading. I'm going to be so op with my sweet system. He laughed heartily and praised the system. Normal people had to learn and work extremely hard to master the alchemy skills, but he became a 5-star alchemist in a few seconds. Why are you smiling? He still had a grin on his face when he exited the system, and seeing the smile on his face, Gaia asked. On the other side, Claire's body went rigid after Hart's request. Her sect only had girls who belonged to poor families, so if any one of those girls got an offer like this, their life status would be catapulted to the next level. However, she was a born noble and a sect leader. For her to be a concubine, it would be a disgrace to her family and herself. No, I'm sorry Lord Hart, but I can't comply with your request. Claire looked at him and immediately shook her head to refuse. After this refusal, Hart's face was twisted to a frown. He considered himself a talented alchemist and his future achievements were limitless. He did not expect that she, a sect leader of a declined sect, did not even consider his proposal and straight up refused him. I am a 2-star alchemist. You'll have a better life as my concubine than as a sect leader of this decayed sect. I will reach the 3-star in the future. His eyes were full of resentment. Thank you for your kindness, Lord Hart, but I don't want to be anyone's concubine. I hope you can understand that, and am sure there are other women who would be willing to be your concubine. Even though her sect was declined, it was still her sect, and she resented him for calling her sect decayed. But still, she wouldn't show her true emotions as they needed the heart-healing pills. Because of that, she felt extremely helpless, and the helplessness in her heart made her eyes well up. Humph, my maids are in a better situation than you Yet you dare to reject me. Hart punched the sofa he was sitting on and looked at Claire coldly. If you don't want to be my concubine, then forget the pills. Lord Hart, please sit down, Elder Mark hurriedly said and tried to calm Hart down, but Hart threw the tea on Elder Mark's face in anger. How dare you? Claire's face turned red in anger as she shouted, I addressed you, Lord, as a form of respect. I didn't expect you to be this arrogant. I've had enough. Leave before I throw you out. She was only a body refining stage level 5 cultivator, yet when she became angry, an intimidating aura radiated from her which surprised both Gaia and Michael. Gaia felt like the reason for Claire to act so mighty because she noticed Ghost standing in the hall who had killed a body strengthening stage level 2 cultivator before. Chapter 41, You Bitch. Hart's anger erupted like a volcano as he raised his hand to slap Claire when he saw a bolt of lightning fly between his hand and Claire's face. That's enough, haven't you heard of a phrase, no means no? The bolts of lightning danced around his fingers as he made a grand entrance to the scene. Sect leader Claire, I can concoct the heart healing pills in my sleep, you don't need him. The moment he finished his sentence, they all froze and stared at Ghost. Even Gaia looked at him with disbelief at first. Being an alchemist was not something one can do overnight or not as easy as cultivating. One needed to be born with a special talent to comprehend the alchemy knowledge, and even with talent and resources, it was extremely hard to concoct a pill or brew a potion without practicing and learning for decades. So when a 19-year-old youngster spoke these words, they were shocked beyond words. I thought he stole those magic healing pills. Is he really an alchemist? Gaia on the other hand didn't think that he's boasting but actually confused hearing him. Brat, who are you? Hart sneered and said, You retarded trash, you think you can concoct pills? He's dead. Gaia had already marked Hart as a dead body, but surprisingly he seemed calm and cool. Yes, I think I can concoct the heart healing pills better than you. Any time of the day. Hart's eyes were full of disdain, and he felt that he was being provoked. He did not expect to be humiliated too after being rejected by Claire. If you can't, what then? Shall warm my bed tonight, how is that? Just like Gaia said, his real intention came to light as he sneered. She is not a tool nor a bet, he said coldly. If I can't concoct a pill, I will kill myself. How is that? If he couldn't concoct a pill even after the system etched everything about alchemy into his brain, he did deserve to die, but Michael knew that he could easily beat him. Ghost. Elders and Claire tried to intervene, but he stopped them with a wave of his hand. Kill yourself. Hart smirked and said with a smile, All right. If you are willing to go that far. It's a deal. Begin immediately. If you fail, then kill yourself. Trash like you doesn't deserve to live anyways. If you can't do it, I'll kill you myself. But what if you lose? Lose? Lose to you? If you concoct a pill with 1% higher purity than mine, I'll run around the kingdom naked. Gross, Gaia exclaimed as Michael shook his head. Who wants to see you naked? If I beat you, I'll kill you. How about that? There was a flash of hesitation in Hart's eyes, but looking at Ghost from head to toe for a second, he decided to bet his life because there was no way a kid like him could concoct a pill with higher purity than him. No problem, Hart nodded as Michael took a quill and paper from the desk before him and wrote all the ingredients needed for the pill. Gaia, I'll need everything in this list. They all looked dumbfounded in this scene, especially the 3 elders who still couldn't believe that he's an alchemist. Gaia took the list and a pouch of gold coins, dumbfounded as Hart also called one of his guards and gave the list. Obviously this was just plain impossible. Hart was 40 years old and he was still at this level. It was almost unbelievable if Ghost could actually do this. Taking the list, Gaia ran outside with eyes full of excitement to see whether he's really an alchemist or not. In her mind, if he was an alchemist as he was claiming, she would be one step closer to know the secrets behind how he got the pills that could heal her meridians. Jack, you little shit, where are you? They were standing in awkward silence hearing Gaia's shout outside. Michael motioned sect leader Claire to lead the way, and after following Claire, everyone came to the temporary room, which was originally built for Hart to concoct pills in peace. After 30 minutes or so, Gaia and the guards entered the room carrying the ingredients needed to concoct the pills. During this time, the elders and sect leader Claire didn't ask a question to Michael because he pretended to be in meditation. He knew that if he stood there waiting for Gaia, they would ask annoying questions as he would then need to say something to assure them. It was easier for him to show them what he could do than tell them. Ghost, I brought everything you asked. Gaia gave the herbs to Michael and a furnace. You forgot to write furnace here. I don't need one. Hart and everyone in the hall was dumbstruck by what he said. You idiot, how do you plan to concoct the pill without a furnace? Hart sneered, his eyes and face showed nothing but disdain towards Michael. Furnace is for amateurs. I'm more of a legend when it comes to alchemy. So shameless. Hart gave a death stare and sat on the floor crossed legs to start the process. Human, I bought you an extra badge of herbs in case you mess it up, Gaia whispered without anyone noticing before Michael slipped a tiny vial into Gaia's hands. Slip this into the guards' drinks? Is this what I think it is? Gaia asked with an evil grin as Michael nodded. Let's start, shall we? Hart gave a sneer as an answer, and under the curious and worried eyes of elders, Michael conjured flames in one hand and took the herbs in the other. Alongside Michael, Hart flicked his wrist as a furnace was about the size of a clay pot appeared before him. The furnace had many strange inscriptions written all around it and gave off an extremely mysterious feeling. Sect leader Claire, we should stay back, Elder Mark exclaimed as the other two elders agreed with him and took a few steps back from Michael. Indeed, pill concocting was not a joking matter but an extremely difficult process. The main difficulty of concocting pills was controlling the fire. That was why almost every alchemist would use an alchemy furnace so they could adjust the heat going to the pill through the furnace. However, Michael had no need for a furnace because the system made him extremely talented in controlling the fire, so until he reached the 6-star level where the system required him to buy a legendary furnace and a mythical fire if he wanted to concoct legendary pills. The reason for the elders to step back was if he did lose control of the fire, he might cause an entire batch of pills to go to waste. Or even worse, he might cause the furnace to explode. Should the furnace explode, they wanted to save Sect Claire and themselves from getting burnt. If I were you, I would save myself the embarrassment and run away, brat. He cast a shield around himself and mocked Michael. If I were you, I would start begging because I'm going to kill you painfully because of your mouth. Let's see who kills whom. Sect leader Claire, how many pills do you need? I can concoct 4 heart-healing pills with these herbs. Oh? 4? 4 is enough. She was overwhelmed by shock as she barely managed to speak these words. He nodded and did something that made everyone in the hall almost faint. He threw all the herbs into the fire directly while Hart was still refining the first herb with utmost caution. Elders were at a loss for words. Don't tell me that your pill refining process is done so carelessly? Do you just empty the ingredients into the furnace and hope for the best? Even though they were not trained alchemists, they knew that each herb had a different temperature point where they would release its medicinal qualities, but everyone around him was stumped. Was there really such a method? This method had been lost a long time ago and is now a lost art. Many 5-star alchemists had tried to regain this method, but wasted many ingredients in their failed pursuit and failed to accomplish anything. Elder Miles spoke out gravely in a low-pitched voice. Lost art? I have a system. With the system, I'm going to play God in this world. Just a mere pill refining art, how can it ever pose a challenge to me? Michael's narcissistic self put its head out in his mind and he wanted to speak these words loudly, but he controlled himself and pretended not to hear Elder Mark. If he's unable to exert absolute control over the fire, it will result in an explosion big enough to kill him again. Elder Miles whispered this to his colleagues. Don't worry, Elder Miles, I can brew a potion or concoct a pill with a 100% success rate, Michael casually replied to Elder Miles. No. Concentrate on controlling the fire, Elder Miles shouted and jumped back when he heard him talking as he feared that he would lose control of the fire and cause an explosion. I want to see how long you can keep this farce up. At this moment, Hart finally refined his first herb and responded to Michael. Michael completely ignored him and sensed the herbs were almost finished refining. Elder Miles, do you think he could do it? The third elder, who's called Reiner, asked Elder Miles, as only Elder Miles had some experience in teaching alchemy. He's a freak, we don't know what he's capable of. Look at his cultivation level. He just reached the body refining stage level 1 when we met him, but look at him now, he reached level 5 in just 2 days. We can't question his abilities now. For the sake of our sect leader, he must best hard at this, said Elder Mark. Quit whining, you oldies, he wouldn't have put his life on the line if he wasn't sure of his abilities. Elders turned around to see Gaia walking towards them proudly like she had done something fabulous. The two elders and Claire was shocked to hear her tone, but Elder Mark sighed. Ignore her manners, this girl is a friend of Ghost. During the conversation, Hart finished refining the second herb and had only 6 more to refine. Haha, how long are you going to make a fool out of yourself? Throwing all the herbs at once in the fire? You really are dumb. Even if you want to pretend, at least make it believable. Hart pointed at Michael's behavior and laughed. Watch this. This time Michael sneered as he put his hand above the fire. Then when he lifted his hand, one by one colorful shiny beads floated up from the fire. There were 8 beads floating above the fire, and soon after, he started merging the beads into one fist-sized ball. This is impossible. To refine all the herbs at once, you need absolute control over the fire. This is absolutely impossible. Hart's face lost all of its colors and turned pale. He thought Michael would fail, but he refined all the 8 herbs even before Hart could refine 3 herbs. Also, the beads floating above Michael's fire were shiner and purer than the 2 beads before him. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Subordinate Gaia killed a body-strengthening stage level 3 cultivator. The reward is 15,000 experience points. The sweet notification bell sound started to ring inside his mind, making him grin. Chapter 42, System, he'll get experience points for Gaia's killings too? Yes, the host will receive experience points for killings of host subordinates. How many points do I need to heal her? 3,000 points to repair her meridians, 20,000 points to restore her previous cultivation level. The system recommends the host to heal her again when the subordinate reach at least 75% loyalty level. I know that system now tells me what was her original cultivation level, before they crippled her. Core formation stage level 7, whoa. She was a prodigy? Now I understand why she acts so arrogant and overbearing. Never mind for now, I'll keep giving her the pills to keep her on a leash and increase her loyalty. When he exited the system, he raised his hands as the big silver beads split into 4 small fist-sized pills. Hart saw this scene and began to tremble, especially when he saw the extremely pure pills. 90% purity? Holy shit. Just as the words escaped Gaia's mouth, the elders, sect leader Claire, and Hart felt like they were being struck by lightning. The first 2 had never seen a pill concocted by a 5-star alchemist, but Gaia had consumed many of those to enhance her cultivation. After all, she was a princess. Impossible. Hart mumbled and stumbled back clumsily as 3 pills floated into sect leader's hand and 1 floated towards Hart. At this moment, the 3 elders succumbed to silence. Although they hadn't seen pills with this much purity, they knew that the pills in Claire's hands were superior in quality, as the pills radiated an extremely sweet fragrance and arch energy. The elders start to murmur behind him. He's a 5-star alchemist? They were stunned to disbelief. The whole continent had only a handful of 5-star alchemists. Finding them was not an easy task, and even if they found one, their services would not come cheap. Before this, they only thought of him as a genius, but now, they considered him as a youngster blessed by the gods themselves. If he could reach this level at a young age, then that meant his future achievements would be countless. Not only he cultivated at a monstrous speed, but was also a 5-star alchemist. How did he learn all this? They couldn't help but look at Gaia after staring at Michael. They thought Gaia could somehow explain his origins, but she quickly shrugged. Don't look at me, I didn't know he's a freaking 5-star alchemist. But you are his friend? Elder Mark asked. In fact, it was not only them, but even Gaia was completely stunned. Alchemy was not easy, and that was a completely different challenge than cultivation. She thought the reason for his monstrous cultivation speed was because he had a special body type, but now she realized he has more secrets than she assumed. Bastard kept this as a secret. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Several ding sounds again rang inside his head. A puny little 2-star alchemist. Look, this is how the pill concocts by me, a 5-star alchemist would look like, Michael said with a smirk as he slowly walked towards Hart, terrorizing him. As Michael took a step forward, Hart took a step backward in shock and despair. The 3 elders were stunned, but slowly their minds began to jump in joy. They didn't need to use Hart's service any longer. Ghost could be his replacement, and of course he might not charge for his service, thus reducing the cost they needed to concoct heart healing pills for Elder Sandra. Sunrise Sect now not only had the #1 genius of the younger generation as their disciple, but also a 5-star alchemist. This was just too good to be true. Gaia immediately grabbed 1 pill from Claire's hands and inspected it. After a second she looked at the elders and Claire. Yes, this pill is 90% pure, I'm sure. No. Hart was furious, looking at Michael with full of hatred in his eyes. I didn't expect you to really concoct pills. You all deceived me by hiding the fact that you have an alchemist. You should have thought this before accepting the challenge, he sneered. Now, I'm going to kill you, as I said before, painfully. How could he let him live after Hart repeatedly insulted him? Hart's actions earlier couldn't be forgiven easily in his eyes, ha. Suddenly Hart stopped walking backward and laughed maniacally. Don't get ahead of yourself. I don't know what stunt you just pulled with the pills. But I know you can't kill me, you're just a body refining cultivator. I'm at the fucking body strengthening stage, I can crush you, guards. Hart stood there expecting his guards to arrive at any second with a wicked smile on his face. Yet, there was no one coming inside the hall as Hart shouted again. Guards. They're not coming, asshole. Gaia stepped forward and stood beside Michael fiddling with the knife he gave her. When Hart looked at the knife, his heart skipped a beat as he saw the fresh bloodstains on the blade. What did you do? A seductive smile and few flirty lines, that was all it took to make your guards drink my special tea, The little vial Michael gave her before he started concocting pills was the remaining paralyzing potion in his system storage. Because of his responsive shield, he didn't need to fear anyone under body strengthening stage level 2, but those guards were at level 3 and 4, which would possess a threat to Michael if he fought them head-on. So, Michael used Gaia to paralyze them and kill them easily. Why did you kill one guard? Michael asked Gaia, ignoring Hart for a moment. Fucker tried to get all touchy, so I stabbed him in the face after paralyzing him. Now dibs on killing this asshole. No, he's mine. Michael conjured the bolts of lightning as elders watched the scene dumbstruck. Especially what Gaia did and trying to do stunned them, considering she's just a mortal girl, yet she was trying to kill Hart herself. Ah! Hart screamed and tried to cast a spell before a wave of wind blasted him outside. Ghost, wait. Sect leader Claire quickly stepped forward and tried to stop him from killing Hart. See ya, human. Seeing Michael halt his steps, Gaia laughed and ran outside with full of excitement to kill Hart before he steadied himself and cast another spell. Don't come crying to me when he kicks your ass, Michael shouted at the running figure of Gaia and couldn't help but laugh seeing the snake's craze to kill Hart. Ghost, let him go, don't kill him. No, sect leader Claire, if he doesn't kill Hart now, he would go back to his kingdom and bring reinforcements to take revenge, Elder Miles exclaimed as Michael nodded with a smile. Elder Miles is right, besides, I told him that I would kill him if he failed, I must keep my word, sect leader. Now if you excuse me, I have an alchemist to kill, as he said. He dashed outside to kill Hart before he escaped from Gaia, who had no ability to cast spells. What? Let's see you cast spells now, haha. When Michael came outside, Hart was lying on the ground like a statue as Gaia was laughing and kicking him maniacally. What did you do to me? What happened to him? The elders and Claire looked confused seeing the guards and Hart's rigid bodies. By looking at the green ooze on the blade in Gaia's hands, he realized that she coated the blade with the paralyzing poison and cut Hart with it, hence he was paralyzed. Stop playing with the prey, release me. Ignitia. While walking towards Hart, Michael sent a few bolts of lightning to the guards and killed them instantly. Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body strengthening stage level 3 cultivator. The reward is 15,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points. Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body strengthening stage level 4 cultivator. The reward is 20,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points. Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body strengthening stage level 3 cultivator. The reward is 15,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. New. The anger in Hart's eyes disappeared and fear clutched his heart after seeing the charcoal bodies of his powerful guards. You called me a retard, idiot, and trash. Do I look anything like that to you? Bzzz. The electric humming produced by the lightning bolts around his fingers struck the fear of God in Hart's heart. Then soon after, Gaia twitched her nose and saw a wet circle forming under Hart. Human, I think he peed, Her laughter fueled Hart's fear and embarrassment as Michael crouched in front of him. He then ran his finger across Hart's face. Diddle diddle, we are so. The intensity of the lightning bolts increased as Hart felt his face burning. Hart's scream echoed through the mountains and then it was abruptly stopped. Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body strengthening stage level 2 cultivator. The reward is 15,000 experience points as well as 300 badass points. He's dead? So quickly? Gaia kicked Hart's body and said. The reason for Hart's death was not because of the lightning bolts but overwhelming agony and fear which made his heart stop. Looking at the scene, the elders and Claire trembled in fear. The charming cool youngster seemed like a devil a second ago. He not just killed Hart but actually tortured him to death. What more terrorized them was the fact that he seemed to neither enjoy nor regret killing Hart but rather, he appeared to be cool and calm when killing people. That indicated one thing to them: he killed so many people to the point that killing became like breathing to him. Chapter 43. Use this to dispose of the bodies. Michael retrieved the highly flammable liquid he bought from the system and handed it over to Gaia. And don't forget to take their space rings if they have one. Don't call Jack this time, he said, and turned his gaze towards the terrified elders and Claire. Sect leader Claire, elders, those heart-healing pills, who needs them? A sudden sadness emerged in Claire's eyes when he asked. She then sighed. Follow us. With Claire leading the way, they arrived at a house adjacent to the building where they met Hart. A couple of girls and boys in orange uniforms respected them when they arrived. Inside the house, he was led to a room that seemed clean and well organized. Also, he immediately smelled a strong medicinal smell. Surprisingly, in the middle of the room, Elder Sandra was laid down in bed, unconscious and really pale. He could immediately sense that this was not something caused by injury but a terminal illness like cancer. However, unlike Earth, he had the ability to concoct pills to cure Elder Sandra. How long has she been like this? The last time I saw her, she was fine. He sat beside Elder Sandra on the bed and observed her condition. She had been like this for the last 3 years. She would only get better when she took a healing pill, but lately the healing pill stopped working. That was why we wanted to give her the heart healing pills. Claire's words made sense, as the heart pills were much effective in healing terminal illness like this better than the normal healing pills. Although you were right to give her healing pills, it only kept the illness from spreading to her whole body, not to cure her. Sect leader Claire, you should have used the heart healing pills in the first place, then the illness would have gone by now. We can still cure her, right? Claire didn't act like a sect leader at the moment, but she seemed like a helpless, weak girl who was concerned about a mother figure like Sandra. We can't cure her with heart healing's pills. It's too late. We can slow down the illness. No. It can't be. Tears already started to well up in Claire's eyes as the elders looked worried and shocked. Sect leader Claire, don't cry. I said we can't cure her using the heart healing pills, but we can use another potion to completely cure Elder Sandra. Really? She quickly wiped off the falling tears and asked with delight. Yes, I can brew the potion, no problem at that, but it's hard to get the required herbs and ingredients. Let's wait for my friend. She would know where can we buy and how much the prices are. Are you talking about me? Gaia made a timely entrance to the scene and halted her steps when she saw Elder Sandra's pale body. She doesn't look good. What happened to her? Black bite. This was the terminology they used in this world for cancer, and when she heard the name, her brows went up. Now, before you say something, tell me where we can buy these and how much it would cost us? He quickly wrote everything he needed to brew the potion that could cure Elder Sandra. I've never heard of a pill or a potion that could cure black bite. Gaia shrugged as the elders and Claire looked at Michael. That's because no one knew about this potion except me. And what potion is that? Dew of Angel Lotus, Dale for short. None had any idea or never heard of such potion before, including Gaia. So they could neither deny nor confirm the existence of such potion. Petals of green rose, a tooth of a wyvern, siren's blood, virgin dew. The more she read the items on the list, the more she was shocked. And even though the elders or Claire hadn't heard some of the items in the list, looking at Gaia's reaction, they could tell how difficult it would be to get those items. I know places where we can buy these items, but it won't be cheap. You need a small fortune to buy all these. Claire's eyes immediately lit up when she heard that Gaia said she knew the places to find the items, but they darkened shortly afterward hearing the last part. How small? Elder Mark slowly asked, like he was even afraid of asking this question. Something between 400,000 to 500,000 gold coins. What Gaia had said had stunned everyone. Claire's facial expression had turned pale, and her entire body was shivering. Oh my God, I'm going to faint. Elder Reiner lurched aside and held onto the wall to stop his body from falling down. How are we going to get that much? Ghost, please save her. After a few moments of gawking at each other, Claire swallowed the hesitation and came in front of Michael, pleadingly asking. She clutched his hands as tears rolled out of her eyes. Sect leader Claire. This sudden act of her really stunned him. I will brew the potion for Elder Sandra, but I really don't have 500,000 gold coins in my purse. He was no longer sitting beside Elder Sandra but stood up immediately. Claire still didn't let go of his hands while the elders also came closer to him and surrounded him. Sect leader Claire, we can't expect him to have 500,000 gold coins with him. Even if he had, we can't ask him to give it to us. We can plead for a loan from King Breedia. Also, if we can sell the rest of our lands, we may be able to get another 60,000 gold coins. Each elder was speaking their minds, and all of them wanted to save Elder Sandra no matter the cost. This showed Michael the bond they had between them. Still, he didn't have 500,000 gold coins to buy the items, and even if he had, Michael wasn't going to empty his purse for them. Saving the survivors of the Rosewood Village was a different thing, as he only had to buy some upgrades which would always be a help to him in the future. He might have helped them if he had hundreds of millions of gold coins, but currently, he only had 75,000 gold coins. Besides, 500,000 gold coins were equal to 2,500 badass points, which were more valuable to him than Elder Sandra's survival. Ding. The base of operation feature unlocked. What the? He heard a ding sound as loud as a church bell inside his head and was instantly taken to system's interface. A new window that he had never seen before in the system appeared before him. The host now can accept the Sunrise Sect as his base of operation. Does the host want the Sunrise Sect to be his base of operation? Wait, what is this base of operations feature? Explain yourself, system, before you ask me to do anything. The base of operations is a similar function to the subordinate feature. The host can acquire a whole organization as his base of operation. What's in it for me? Even though Gaia was not a jackpot, she had proven her worth by giving me some valuable intel, and also she's keeping me entertained. What can a declined place like the Sunrise Sect give me? I've already done them a huge favor by joining them. When the status and legend of the base of operation increase, the host will receive badass points. His objection to making Sunrise Sect his base of operation slightly wavered after he heard the system. Like I received experience points for Gaia's killing? Any actions like killings performed by subordinates can only give the host experience points, not badass points. The base of operation can give the host both experience and badass points. Higher level the base of operation is, more points will be awarded to the host. How many points are we talking about? That depends on the level of the base of operations. He was sure that he felt a tinge of irritation in the robotic voice of the system. The lowest level of the base of operations can give the host 50 badass points and 500 experience points for a week. The highest level? There was no response from the system to his last question as he started to think about making Sunrise Sect his base of operations. Tell me I can have more than one base of operations? Yes, system, why now? I mean, I've been here for 3 days and you've never said anything about making the Sunrise Sect my base of operations. There are 3 main requirements to be met for an organization to be host's base of operation. The organization's survival must depend on the host. Every member of the organization must be weaker than the host. The leader of the organization must be at least have 60% loyalty to the host. It seems me killing Heart left a mark in the young maiden's heart. So easy. Chapter 44. Alright, system, I'll take this risk and accept the Sunrise Sect my first base of operations. Ding. Congratulations to the host. The Sunrise Sect is now the host's base of operation. Base of operation. The Sunrise Sect current leader, Claire Marigold level. 1 debt, 450,000 gold coins. Number of members, 34. Status, declined legend, 0/1000. Crappy old sect. System, what is this legend and what the hell is that debt amount? Legend is a type of evaluation points of the base of operation. The BOP must reach the points limit to upgrade it to the next level. As for your second question, the current leader can give you the answer. The system didn't even wait for him to close the interface but threw him out. Fuck. He cursed the system in his mind and the scene in front of him resumed. Sect leader Claire, elders, I have an idea to get 500,000 gold coins. You do? Elder Mark's face showed a surprised expression. I'm going to create an alchemy enterprise, he calmly said, but in his mind he was excited to create something huge in this world and finally start earning real coins. What's the point of being a 5-star alchemist if he couldn't get rich? Slow your horse, who? Ghost, we need to talk. His excitement was brought to a stop by Gaia's voice as everyone turned their gazes from Michael to Gaia. You are a 5-star alchemist who can concoct pills with 90% purity, what does that tell you? The elders seemed like they had a sudden realization hearing her question, but Michael just proudly grinned. I'm awesome. Gaia rolled her eyes and punched him in the shoulder. It means you are the #1 alchemist among all 4 kingdoms of Elan continent. The grin on his face got even brighter, but the elders looked frightened rather than being delighted about this. After seeing that he had no idea of what she's talking about, Gaia deeply exhaled and said, It means you dethroned the alchemy king Gabriel Keswick. I see your point. Michael realized what she's trying to say and the reason for the elders to be afraid. If he knew that you can concoct pills purer than him, best case scenario, he would just kill you. The worst case scenario is, he would enslave you and make you concoct pills and brew potions while he's reaping the fruits of your work. That's what I would do. Although what she said last shocked them slightly, they had bigger concerns now. Elia is right, Elder Miles sighed and agreed with Gaia. Either way, you're fucked, Ghost. She really worried about his safety, not because she cared for him, but if he died or enslaved, she wouldn't get the magical pills to heal her meridians. So for her sake, she had to do and say everything in her power to keep him safe. I assume you have a solution for this. He understood Gaia enough to know that the reason for her to worry about his safety was to get more pills from him. Although Gabriel can't guarantee 100% success rate of brewing positions concocting pills, his outcomes are 84% pure. So you must not reach 84%. Then you will be second, and I know him, he's too proud to mess with the second, or at least he wouldn't kill or enslave you. You know him, how? Elder Reiner suddenly asked, because even many influential cultivators would try their hardest to get an appointment with Gabriel, let alone Elia, a mortal girl. I mean, I heard about him during my travels, so Ghost, I suggest you aim for something between 60 to 75% purity. She swiftly changed the topic back to Michael before the elders dig too deep into her life. Are you kidding me? 80%, that's the worst I can do. It's mentally and physically impossible for me to concoct or brew anything less pure than that. The elders and Claire opened their mouths to make him lower his level, but after seeing the adamant look on his face, they shut their half-open mouths. It settled then. Elia, tomorrow we'll set up our first shop. Gaia nodded as he turned back to look at Claire. Sect leader Claire, give the heart-healing pills to Elder Sandra. They would stop the black bite from getting worse and make Elder Sandra feel better. I wish we had gold to help you start the shop, Ghost, but... Elder Mark's voice trailed and the other two elders looked a little embarrassed. It's fine, Elder Mark, I can take care of everything. From now on, we'll change our sect's future for the better, he said, and walked away from the scene as Gaia followed him behind, leaving the elders and Claire to worry about Elder Sandra. It took them both a couple of minutes to reach the home given to Michael. Are we in the right place? Gaia tilted her head confused as the house in front of them looked different than what they saw an hour ago. The cobwebs and dust on the windows and wall were nowhere to be found. Little green saplings replaced the dried plants on the lawn. Plus, there was noise coming from the inside along with a mouth-watering aroma of cooking. Did we leave the door open? No shit. Michael walked towards the house when a familiar face came out to greet them both. Young master, young miss. It was none other than Raylene, and she had 2 glasses of lemon juice on a tray. Thank you for cleaning the place, Raylene. It's the least I can do for you, young master. I should have told you before taking the liberty of cleaning the place. Raylene smiled as Michael took the glass and drank it before scanning the drink, just in case. Gulp. Considering the lemons she used to make the drink was bought from the shop and had arch energy infused at the molecular level of the lemons, the juice was rich in fragrance and taste. Looking at Michael gulping the drink, Gaia grabbed the second cup and chugged it before he drank it himself. That was refreshing. Raylene, how would you like to earn some gold coins? Bastard is going for it. The smile on Raylene's face froze hearing him while Gaia giggled inside, having some nasty dirty thoughts, because what can the woman actually do to earn some gold coins rather than pleasing him physically? After all, he was a youth and Raylene was a good-looking woman. Young master. Raylene's body trembled as Michael quickly realized that she's thinking something else. Soon, I'm planning to open up a few shops, and I'd like you to come and work for me as a cook, Raylene. Oh? Raylene let out a short squeal and deeply exhaled as Gaia frowned. Let me know what you think later, Raylene. Yes, young master, I will work for you. Raylene was relieved, realizing that he's not going to ask her to be his mistress, as it was not unusual for a powerful youngster like him to have many mistresses. Good, now go and take care of Cindy. We'll eat later. Raylene nodded and ran back inside the house to put the tray and glasses back. A few minutes after Raylene left, Gaia and Michael plunged into the comfy sofa to discuss their plans for tomorrow. Are you going to tell me? Gaia asked skeptically. Tell you what? What made you suddenly change your mind and help that old woman? I saw you human. You would have brewed the potion to cure the old woman for free, but you had no intention to buy the items yourself at first. But I saw you change your mind in a few seconds, so I'll ask again, what made you change your mind in those few seconds? Chapter 45. Can't you believe that I'm a good guy? He laughed it off as she rolled her eyes. You're far from a good guy, human. I know you're kind, the kind who do good here and there when there's no harm but wouldn't raise a finger if you have to lose something or face serious consequences. You're just a borderline villain, human, not a good guy as you made those old bastards believe, Gaia said without a doubt and accurately identified his personality. She and he had more similarities than they liked to admit. Why do you care anyway? Although I hate to admit it, my survival depends on you and the pills you have. Therefore I don't want you to get killed trying to play hero. You really want to know the answer? He laid back on the couch and asked. Yes, First, answer my question, what do you really want in your life? She was slightly taken back by surprise, but she knew that she had to answer him if she wants an answer from him. Me? I want the throne of Nagaland. Let's just say you will get the throne, then what? She didn't know where he's going with this, but she decided to play along with him. Then I will rule Nagaland for a couple of decades and head to the Lonely Mountains to reach higher levels in cultivation. The Lonely Mountain was a place where cultivators head towards to enter secluded cultivation for decades or even centuries. The harsh cold environment of the mountain would push the cultivators to their limit and make them break through to the higher levels of cultivation. Of course, many would die in the cold mountains, and only cold-hearted as well as talented cultivators would choose to go to the mountain, leaving all the ties to the outside world such as wealth, social status, etc. In the world of cultivation, the higher one's cultivation level, the higher the lifespan. Hence, many powerful cultivators had seen their loved ones die with time, but they will continue to live because of their cultivation level. This often made them severe ties with the outside world and lose their interest in mortal pleasures such as sex, money, and power after a point, and would fully focus on reaching immortality to explore the universe outside. Do you know what I want to do with my life? I want to rule this world, control everything, enjoy everything that this world has to offer. His words expressed his ambition and startled Gaia. Don't be a silly human, you have talent. If you enter the Lonely Mountain and cultivate for a couple of centuries, you will reach immortality. Michael snickered. What's the point of immortality if I can't even enjoy simple pleasures? I'd rather live 50 years enjoying my life than sitting in a cold cave cultivating in the hope of reaching immortality, with the system as his secret companion. Michael had the resolution in his mind to reach immortality, but unlike typical cultivators, he was neither going to sever his ties to the outside world nor stop enjoying the worldly pleasures. So I would need a place suitable for a man like me. That place is the Sunrise Sect. You can think of this place as a place from where I would start to control the rest of the world. You are serious? She asked with a shaky voice in shock. If these words had been spoken by someone else, she would have laughed her ass off, but when it came to him, she couldn't neglect anything. Yet, she now had more questions than answers. Tell me this, why choose this place? In the big sects, I'd just been another prodigy, another feather in their hat, but here? He didn't finish his sentence but laid back and put his leg on the other and sat like a king. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. If you help me achieve my dreams, it'll not only heal you and get you the Nagaland throne you long for, but also assist you to reach immortality. Big words coming from a guy who's just at the body refining stage. A few days ago, you thought you had no chance of reviving your broken meridians, but I proved you wrong. A few minutes ago, you thought there isn't anyone who could reach 90% purity in alchemy. Again, I proved you wrong. So tell me, Gaia, you really think I can't do everything that I said I can? She knew he was right about everything, and deep down, she had already started to believe that he's going to turn this world upside down. Therefore, she decided to stick with him and help him along while reaping some sweet rewards like the pills that can heal her meridians, as well as pills and potions he would brew with 90% purity, which would help her in cultivation. First, you have to help me out here, human. Give me some pills to get my cultivation back, then I can really help you. You know, get my juice back. She clenched her fist and punched the air frantically. Her actions, however, not surprised him the least, as he expected her to ask for more healing pills. He wanted her to ask for more pills so he could put his plan of making her loyal to him in motion. First, I need to check your meridians, he lied with a straight face and controlled his urge to laugh. How are you going to do that? Seeing him stand up and coming closer to her, she moved back on the couch and asked. Her face had a mix of skepticism and doubt. Turn back and cough. Ha! Do as I say, turn back and cough. She stared at him for a couple of seconds, confused at the point. Why is he asking her to do that? But she turned around and coughed as he said. Cough, cough, now breathe in and breathe out. Hey! She wiggled and shouted when she felt his hand on her back. Don't be a baby, do you want me to check your meridians or what? He chuckled inside and said. Just get it over with quickly, and FY, the last fucker who tried to touch me ended up being burned alive. He ignored her and ran his hand around her back for a few more seconds before letting it go. System, how many pills do I have to give her to heal her meridians? 50 pills? Do you have a less effective pill? I want her to believe that I can heal her, but I don't want to heal her before she becomes more loyal to me. Cheap tier revitalizing pills? Great, how much? 500 pill bottle is 500 badass points. The pill would temporarily enable her to feel her meridians and create an illusion of repairing the meridians. That should do the trick. The system, ill by the bottle, exiting the system. He sighed as Gaia's face quickly turned gloomy. What is it? I can still be cured, right? He also put his serious face and said, yes, but your meridians are still in bad shape. We need to carefully treat your meridians. Any small error would permanently destroy them and kill you. Fuck. Tell me you and your pills can fix this. Her hands shivered and her face lost all its color in terror. This was the first time he had seen her this much terrified. I thought my pills alone can cure you eventually, but now that I took a closer look, I realized that I have to concoct another batch of pills, a different one than what I previously gave you. It's very difficult to concoct the new pills. He made his voice sound worried, and when she looked at his face, her fear grew even more as she tightly clenched his hands. Human, please heal me. I don't want to be crippled forever, she pleaded with him. Don't worry, I'll do my best to heal you. After all, you're my assistant, aren't you? Yes, I am. You can't let your assistant die. She vigorously shook her head up and down and let out a wide smile. Alright, I have to check you every week and give you the newly concocted pills. Remember, you must only take 2 pills a week, so I will only give you 2 pills. If you do everything I say, you will be able to cultivate in a year. Try to do anything behind my back, I will throw your ass out and you'll stay a cripple for all your life. Do you understand? Chapter 46 Subordinate, Gaia Cultivation Level. None race, Demi-Human Naga race. Current skills. None status. Merdine's repaired 10% loyalty towards the host. 25%. Look at that, she became 25% loyal to me. He started at the subordinate interface, and looking at the increased percentage, he knew that his plan was working. System, open my status window. Host, Michael. Cultivation level, body refining stage, level 5. Experience points, 65,000/300000 badass points, 7,000 skills and spells. Wind Blast LVL2 Responsive Shield LVL2 Environment Scanning LVL1 Ignitia, LVL1 Lightning Dash, LVL1 Energy Devover, LVL1 Occupation, Disciple of Sunrise Sect. Status, Healthy Goals, Control the World Utility Function, Banker. LVL2, Ratio 1000 Gold Coins, 5 Badass Points, Special Trait, 5-star Alchemist. Subordinates, Gaia Loyalty. Level 25%, Base of Operation, Sunrise Sect. Looks like my goal has changed. Previously his goal was be the strongest predator in the world, and now it changed to control the world. Obviously one had to be the strongest to control the world. So as his first step to control the world, he decided to set up an empire of pill businesses to create a steady income flow. At the current level of the system, he could turn gold coins into badass points, but not the other way around. Since he couldn't use badass points anywhere except in the system, and gold coins were the universal currency in this world, he chose to earn himself some coins. With a rough plan in his mind, he exited the system and saw Gaia was licking the porridge bowl clean. Don't eat the bowl, fuck you. She cursed as she kept picking up the rice grains on the bottom of the bowl and put them into her mouth. Come on, let's go. We need to choose a suitable place to set up my shop. But I only ate 3 bowls. Yes, she ate 3 bowls of porridge and showed Michael that she has a pretty big appetite. She wouldn't have a need to eat this much if she could cultivate, as the arch energy would keep her body fed, but it wasn't the case. Thus she had to eat a lot to keep her body functioning. Also, Raylene's cooking talents and the arch energy infused ingredients that Michael bought from the shop increased the taste of the food several-fold. If you keep eating like this, you're going to be fat. The moment these words escaped his mouth, the food in Gaia's mouth also came out as she coughed up. What did you say? He could see her face turning red in anger and realized that even in this world, girls didn't like to be called fat. You heard me. One could see the puffs of smoke coming out of her ears and nostrils if they looked closer, but suddenly she began to laugh. Ha! A sudden laughter surprised him. All right, ill bite, why are you laughing? She still continued to laugh, and after a few seconds she stopped and looked at him. Even with all your talents, because of your mouth, you're going to end up dying as a virgin. She paused for a moment and then said, unless you pay for a girl to do you. Ha, ha. Now this time, Gaia was surprised to see him burst into laughter. Why are you laughing? It's just, even if you pay, no one would do you, ugly. Ha, ha, great comeback, ha. Both of their laughter echoed through the house, and both felt refreshing to laugh like this after a long time. Michael and Gaia finished their supper and came outside of the house when the sun reached the middle of the sky. Because the sect had only a few disciples, the mountain seemed lonely. How far is this, Bradford? If we start walking now, we'll reach Bradford in 6 or 7 hours. Next option, we go to Rivertown, which we can reach in 30 minutes using your speedy spell. From there we can rent a Pegasus and fly to Bradford in 2 hours. Flying on a Pegasus, cool. He was barely able to contain his excitement from showing on his face when he heard the words Pegasus and fly. Although he flew in airplanes countless times, how could that be compared to actually flying on a Pegasus, the white feathery horses? Let's go. He was about to take Gaia's hand and use the lightning dash when he saw two familiar faces walking towards them. The two familiar faces were none other than Daniel and Ricky, the two guards Michael met in River Town. They looked rather tired and drenched in sweat as their light brown clothes turned into dark brown because of their sweat. "Young Master Ghost. Why are you guys here?" This was the second time he asked the question today as both Daniel, the older guard, and Ricky, the younger one, breathed heavily. "Young Master, we came to make sure Mrs. Agner and the children reached here safely and ask whether they need anything from River Town," Daniel said while Ricky stared at Gaia as he had never seen a girl in his life before. "Seriously?" Gaia questioned Ricky with an annoyed voice as he didn't even try to hide the way he was looking at her. Michael had no intention to stop Ricky as even with the mask on to change her face, she looked pretty, hence, it was natural for a youngster like Ricky to be mesmerized at her beauty. "Ricky?" Daniel pinched Ricky and brought him back from his stupefied state. "It's nice of you two to do that, but don't you guys have to be at the gates all the time?" Daniel sighed and shook his head. "The higher-ups transferred us, young Master Ghost. We are going to Larton today." "Larton? What did you two do to deserve that?" Gaia chuckled sadistically and raised Michael's curiosity. According to Abras memories, Larton was a desert of Kingdom Breedia that had a lesser population. By looking at her sadistic laughter and terrified face of Daniel, he could understand how bad is Larton. If Larton is that bad, can't you guys ask your higher-ups to reconsider? Besides, why are they transferring you? It's... Daniel seemed like he was hiding something as Michael turned his gaze towards Ricky, who's more talkative than Daniel. "It's a punishment, young Master Ghost, as expected." Ricky talked and his tone had a tinge of anger. "Punishment? What did you do?" "It's because of what we did not do, young Master. The letter we received from the higher-ups stated that we should have stopped you from burning Rapley alive at the gates." Michael frowned after hearing Ricky complain. "Also they said we won't get any promotion in the near future. You really fucked the lives of these two ghosts. Weaklings like them wouldn't survive much longer in Larton. If the beasts and poisonous creatures didn't kill them, the scorching sun would." Gaia loved to pour hot oil into the guard's wounds by describing the worst in Larton, and Michael slightly felt guilty for these two. But soon he realized that he could use these two as his henchmen. Gaia was obviously not a person who would run errands for him, and he couldn't use Jack always. Daniel and Ricky seemed like good men and perfect henchmen material. "Fuck your higher-ups, how much salary you guys are getting?" His question shocked Ricky and Daniel. 120 gold coins, per month?" "Yeah, they wish it's per year." Human Gaia snickered and said, "Throw away your jobs, come work for me. I'll pay you what you get in a year for a month." Before Daniel and Ricky could respond, he retrieved two pouches and threw them to the two guards. "This is your hiring bonus. From now on, you two work for me." Ricky and Daniel trembled in surprise and shock. Just by feeling the weight of the pouch in their hands, they could tell that there are more than 100 gold coins inside. Ricky was the first to fall down to the ground and hug Michael's leg. "Fuck those old bastards in the capital. I'll work for you, young Master Ghost." After seeing Michael's generosity and their monthly salary under him, Daniel also knelt down and shed tears of joy. "Alright, get up you two. Be loyal to me and you'll know what it's like to be rich." Alright, character introductions and fillers are over. Upcoming chapters will be fast-paced, action-filled, and fun. Chapter 47, So Cool. At the moment, Michael was flying on a Pegasus behind Gaia. Because of Gaia's previous experience flying the Pegasus, she rode it while Michael sat behind. But that didn't stop him from being extremely happy. His one hand was on Gaia's shoulder to maintain his balance, while with the other hand, he constantly tried to grab the fluffy clouds, even though he knew clouds are made of water vapor and dust particles in the sky. "For God's sake, human, you can't catch the clouds. You're going to fall and die if you keep trying," she screamed and elbowed him in the gut. "Hey Gaia!" Because of the wind resistance, he had to shout. "How much does this Pegasus cost? I need one." Pegasus were horses with wings, and the most common color of these noble creatures was pure white. They were intelligent creatures that could understand the orders of the owner and were protected by a special spell that prevented the riders from stealing them. Hence, the Pegasus taxi owner didn't need to travel with who hired it, but simply sit in his office and let the Pegasus finish its route and come back. However, if the riders had no experience flying on Pegasus, the Pegasus owner would provide one with experience, but that would cost additional cost. Since Gaia had the experience, Michael didn't pay this cost but let her fly the Pegasus. "You can't. If you want one, you have to get permission from the 4 kings of Elon continent." "Seriously? What?" "I don't know, it has been a common law of Elon since forever." "Fuck them. I'm planning to make a dragon my pet and fly on it." Ever since he found out that this world has dragons, he couldn't wait to get his hands on a dragon baby or a grown dragon. Make a dragon your pet? You're one crazy motherfucker, you know that? Gaia shouted, and now she had grown quite familiar with his grand ideas and plans. He would have bought one from the system if the price wasn't in the millions. We're going to land, hold tight. She giggled evilly as the warning beep sound in his mind went crazy. She galloped the Pegasus and turned the Pegasus to do a barrel roll in the mid-air. Michael's reflexes were outstanding, therefore when the moment the warning sound rang in his head, he wrapped his hands around her waists and held onto her tightly. Bastard. Get your hands off of me. She didn't expect him to act quickly or wrapped his hand around her waist. She wanted to scare him off, but the situation turned against her favor. Do it again. He already enjoyed the ride tremendously, but the last part of him touching her waist was icing on the cake. On the contrary to his demand, she stopped barrel rolling and landed the Pegasus on the ground. You perverted bastard. The moment her feet touched the ground, she shouted at him as he waved her off. What did you expect? Me falling down from the sky? Just be glad that held onto your waist. She quickly covered her chest like she was naked when she looked at where he was looking at. Meh. The Pegasus beside them neighed and took off, leaving them behind at the outskirts of the marketplace, erected on the light side of Breedia. Bradford was a town led by Baron Totonk. This town wasn't built by a mountain by accident, as it has ancestral grounds, which was of great importance to the people of Bradford and its success. The town itself looked imposing. With its spruce wood rooftops, limestone walls and silent mountain range, Bradford had a pleasing atmosphere. Bradford had a booming economy, which was mainly supported by mining, baking and wine brewing. But their biggest strengths was the reason for Michael to be here, alchemy. Despite its strengths and weaknesses, Bradford was most likely headed towards a gracious future under the leadership of Baron Totonk. But this remains to be seen. Despite their rough landing, people didn't pay mind to Gaia and Michael as they continued to do what they were doing. Compared to the river town, the people around Michael seemed healthy and clean. Most ladies wore at least one jewel on their body, and occasionally, he could see ladies who had armed escorts, lavish jewels and wore fancy robes. These must be noble ladies. The noble ladies slightly looked like Roman noble ladies in the Spartacus television show he watched on Earth. Obviously, Michael took a few peaceful minutes to enjoy the hot ladies and girls on the streets, which frustrated Gaia as he never looked at her like he's staring at these noble ladies now. Shall we move now? Or do you need another hour to finish eye-banging them? She pitched his ears and interrupted his eyes from feasting on the beauties. Through the bustling streets of Bradford, both of them passed many food stalls, bakeries and various other stores. For a second he felt like he was back in the streets of Los Angeles, back on Earth. Wow, there are only 2 alchemy stores. After finishing checking out all the stores on both sides of the street, Michael realized that Bradford only has 2 alchemy stores owned by 2- and 1-star alchemists. Of course, the shopkeeper in those stores weren't alchemists but just salespersons. Hey look, this building is on sale. He and Gaia came before a newly built building next to a bakery and jewelry. The building had 2 floors and huge glass windows that almost made the inside of the building transparent. Good condition and location. Because of the jewelry, we can draw the attention of nobles quickly. Come, let's go see the owner of the building. Hey, is that Ghost? Yeah, it seems like him. Who's that girl with him? Can we get an autograph? Seeing that Michael had stopped, some of the people in the crowd recognized him. The people who had seen him stopped and kept watching him from afar. He entered the door and saw a bald-headed man wearing golden robes sitting in the rather empty building. He was meditating, and hearing the footsteps, he opened his eyes. How can I help you too? I saw the sign outside. I'd like to buy this building. State your price. The man stood up and rubbed his shaved chin for a second. Young man, my price is not cheap. Forgive me for being blunt, but you or your friend here don't seem very rich to me. Since Gaia said that at most, a building would cost 25,000 gold coins, therefore he didn't have to worry about the cost as he had 30,000 gold coins plus 10,000 gold coins he got from Heart's space ring. Alright, 20,000 gold coins, non-negotiable. Michael looked at Gaia as she gave a nod of approval, indicating he's not ripping them off. The shopkeeper had built this store using most of his savings to open a gem business. But his son became a father and his wife was urging him to leave Breedia to go live with his son. Therefore he decided to sell this building, and because he used most of his savings he wanted to get most of his coins back, hence he stated a high price which left him with no buyers. However, Gaia knew a 5-star alchemist would earn 20,000 gold coins with a couple of pills, so she had no problem buying this place. He'll take it, Michael nodded and ordered the system to stack 20,000 gold coins in front of him. He gave the gold coins to the shopkeeper, who was quite surprised, but he quickly took the coins into his space ring. The shopkeeper then gave him a contract, and in a few seconds the deal was done. Now we have a building, let's go shopping for the pill ingredients. Chapter 48. Successfully buying the building to set up their alchemy business, Michael and Gaia once again took on a stroll through Bradford. Bradford was a huge flourishing city. As Gaia led him throughout the city, they came across several thriving streets of Bradford. Then the two finally came to a stop right in front of a massive building with the words, Green Heaven, written in elegant calligraphy. Human, this is the biggest treasure store in Bradford. If you want anything rare or valuable, you can find it here. Also, they have the biggest collection of everything we need to set up our business. He noticed that she uses the word we more often and begins to be a team player. Let's go inside then. Within Green Heaven, many richly dressed men were walking around along with several sturdy-looking guards that were all looking with an attentive gaze at the merchandise around them. Look at that, idiots looking for fancy items to add to their collections. What's the point of spending millions of gold for a single painting? She said, glaring at the group of people who were checking out a fancy painting. He agreed with her in his mind, as he too had the same thought when he saw people spend millions on French paintings or weird statues. He only spent his money on mansions, guns, and video games that had a practical use. I miss my Xbox, PlayStation, and my PC, he sighed inside and continued to follow Gaia. The first floor is mainly for useless things, for rich good-for-nothings. Afterward, Michael and Gaia climbed up to the second story. As Michael approached the second floor, two soldiers in full metal plate armor blocked his path to the stairway. One of them looked at Michael before speaking out politely. My lord, my lady, show us your way of payment before entering. Human, take out the gold coins, she whispered to him and said to the guards, we don't use pay cubes. We deal with cold hard coins. Michael retrieved the remaining gold coins and stacked them before the guards. Can we go inside now? Gaia said, of course, please enter, my lord, my lady. The two men instantly gestured for him to go past them. Pay cubes were a way of storing and saving money. Within the Elon continent, the color of the pay cube also signified one's wealth. It was a symbol of status that was a requirement for entering some businesses. Fortunately, Abras Memories had some knowledge about the pay cube, so he was not entirely clueless. Where do I get a pay cube? After entering through the door, he quickly asked Gaia. Of course you don't know, you can't get a pay cube whenever you want, you need to have at least 100,000 gold coins in your pocket. And then you can get one from a Grand Spire Bank branch. Remind me to get one. I'm not your notebook, you know. She rolled her eyes, but he knew she would do that. Throughout the entire floor, there were many strange and bizarre plants and items on display, ranging from many different colored flowers to strange lumps of iron. There were even many animal parts and organs in glass bottles. Among the items there was a small pile of iron sand. The iron sand was darkly colored and exuded a constant black flame. Nothing for fuel but the air around it. The fire burned constantly without ever being extinguished. Aside from that, there were a few other strange crystals that glowed brightly, along with a few ancient-looking alchemy furnaces. In short, there were many fantastical things to be seen, some from the past, and many weren't ordinary-looking things at all. The second floor of the Green Heaven didn't have as many people as the first floor. There were only 20 expensively dressed men that casually walked around and selected an item that caught their interest. Stop gawking around, human, you're embarrassing me. Of course he gawked around as a child entered a museum for the first time. Every time he thought that this world couldn't surprise him anymore, new things would do just that. In his previous time, he had to avoid going to public places in his free time, as there was a risk of exposing himself. Even though none had seen his real face, he preferred better to be safe than sorry. So places like these brought the child inside him. Gaia exaggerated things by saying he's embarrassing her, but in truth, she liked messing with him. She dragged him to the counter herself after he had taken too long gawking around. Right in front of them on a counter were countless bizarre-looking plants, items, and crystals. He already decided what kind of pills and potions he's going to make and everything he needed in his mind. Calling over the manager of the second floor, he placed a list on the counter. I need everything in this list. The manager was a white-haired elder. Although he was quite old, both of his eyes shined brightly as if both pupils were a shining star. The manager looked at the list and then him as if to size him up before speaking with a small smile. My lord, the items in this list, are you an apprentice of an alchemist? Gaia became irritated about the old manager's inquiry as she was about to open her mouth for a snooty reply. Michael kicked her leg. Ouch. Something like that, Manager T. We have everything on the list, my lord, but the total price will be rather high. Manager T took a few seconds to do the math and said, how much? 6,000, place as big as this and popular as this wouldn't swindle a customer like roadside stores. Therefore, even though Gaia wasn't completely certain about the price of the items in the list, she nodded when he looked at her. Besides, she knew that the prices are fixed and no point in negotiating. "He'll take it. Stop following me. You're irritating me to death." He was about to take the gold coins when he heard a girl shouting. He momentarily stopped and turned back to see a few people entering the floor. He counted 10 bodyguards who adorned silver Kevlar-like armor and held spears in their hands. They seemed to be following a young woman who shouted a moment ago at the young man who was trying to persuade her while following her. The girl seemed to belong to a wealthy family. Both Gaia and him looked at the young girl. She was good-looking, and suddenly, the angry girl's eyes fell on Michael as he was in the midst of staring at her. She shouted, "You lecher! What are you looking at?" Michael was taken back by surprise as the young girl had decided to take out her anger on him. Although the girl seemed to be at body refining stage 3, the guards around her were at body strengthening stage 2 and 3, which indicated the mighty background of this haughty girl. Hence, he decided to ignore her rather than say something that could bring unnecessary trouble. "What is with me and angry girls?" He ignored the girl and turned his gaze at the manager back. Gaia, on the other hand, looked at the girl from top to bottom, and when she noticed the symbol the guards had on their chests, she quickly turned around. But when the young girl noticed him ignoring her without showing any emotions, she became more enraged and shouted at him, "You rascal, no point of turning your head now. I saw you gawking at me. Haven't you seen a beautiful girl before?" It was true that he was an assassin and always preferred to avoid as many troubles as possible, but now, the girl crossed the line. If he didn't say anything now, he wouldn't be a badass, would he? "Excuse me." Gaia knew very well that he has two sides of him. One side of him was the funny cool calm side and the other was the evil cruel killer side. Now she could tell the other side of him sticking its head out. "I never gawked at you, I just heard you shouting and turned my head like everyone else in this room," he said, and then pointed his finger at the youngster who was following her in the first place. "If you have one guy following you, it doesn't mean you are the Miss World and everyone is courting you." When he finished replying to the girl, everyone was dumbfounded, especially Manager T and the bodyguards. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1,000 badass points. Chapter 49. One of her female bodyguards couldn't keep her straight face as she looked at him in shock. In the meantime, Gaia tried to pinch his hand and let him know who the girl in front of them is before he does something that puts both of them in trouble. But Gaia couldn't help but admire him when it comes to making enemies out of beauties. Moreover, his guts were worthy of being praised. Not many people could dare to speak in such a manner in front of the most irrational and overbearing girl in Bradford. The girl stared at him with fierce eyes. She then said, "Do you know who I am? As you can see, I'm already not in a fine mood today. I can help you in getting rid of your bones, if you want." "Bitch is trying to get herself killed." Gaia cursed the girl in her mind and grabbed Michael's hand sneakily. "Look, Lady Jane, daughter of Baron Totonk." The last part was unnecessary, but Gaia used it to reveal the identity of the girl to Michael. He was obviously shocked and cursed at his luck, but he was not going to back off as it was too late to back off without being seen as a coward. The boy who followed the girl was startled. He recalled that this woman, Jane Totonk, was the biggest terror of Bradford. He had been beaten up by this girl in the past because of his love for her. The beating had been so severe that it had taken him nearly a week to get off his bed. "Without your father's identity as Baron, you're just another girl who thinks too highly of herself. Now if you excuse me." Michael turned to look at Manager T as he wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Michael feared that if she talks too much, he would beat her to a pulp. Jane's face turned red in anger and she seemed as if she was about to pounce on him and give him a good beating. According to the things Gaia heard, the young woman had great fighting abilities even though she was extremely young. She could easily defeat a normal body refining stage level 5 cultivator due to the powerful spells and fighting techniques she learned. However, Gaia knew that Ghost is far from normal and he could not only kill her but also her bodyguards. "Ah!" The girl started to laugh maniacally. "I can't wait to see how are you going to talk when my guards knock all your teeth out," she said to Michael and looked at her guards. "I want to see him beg for mercy. As for his whore, throw her out of my store." "Whore? Human, kill them." Hearing the girl call Gaia a whore, Gaia lost all her reasonings. Compared to a princess and a prodigy like her, how could a girl like Jane, a mere daughter of a baron, insult her like this in front of all these people? "Stop." Michael raised his hand and said as the guards halted their movement. "Don't tell me you're going to beg just like that." Jane held her head high and arrogantly looked at him. "Why don't we take this fight outside?" Since the fight is unavoidable, he wanted to make the best out of it. If he fought inside here, only 20 or so people would see, but if he fought outside, more people would see him, hence more badass points. Even though he knew he's going to face some bad consequences because of this bitch, he couldn't help but feel excited thinking about the badass points he's going to reap from this fight. For a moment, the girl and the bodyguards looked like a bunch of sheep walking towards the lion without any ideas of the slaughter that's about to happen. Gaia knew that there's no stopping him now as Jane sealed her fate by her mouth. Why did you have to provoke her? You're indeed a big deal in Bradford. But you messed with a wrong human. An idea crossed Jane's mind as she looked at the arrogant face of the youngster standing in front of her. Very well, if you want the whole city to see my guards beat you, so be it. She had spoken these words without any hesitation. She was clearly an extremely bold woman. Miss? One of Jane's female bodyguards tugged at her sleeve in an attempt to discourage her. The female guard didn't know what was Jane's motivation to mess with the young man, but looking at his black outfit, she seemed to recall a person called Ghost who massacred the entire Blood and Bone sect and killed the sect master Ralphie. The female guard also heard that Ghost wore a full black outfit that seems unique like the ones the youngster before is her wearing. If he was the same person who killed Ralphie, the guard wasn't sure that she could defeat him. Also, if what she heard that happened in Heaven's Gate competition was true, he's a prodigy and prodigies are extremely unpredictable. However, Jane wasn't in the mind to care about anything. Jane said excitedly, "Come on then." Michael was still calm and did not show any expression on his face while Jane's bodyguards looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Then they walked towards the door to exit the building. The people on the floor also followed them as they didn't want to miss the entertainment. The bodyguards were feeling pity for the youngster, but no one among them was in a position to do anything. They blamed the youngster's bad luck and bad mouth to mess with Jane, who was renowned for being arrogant and overbearing in Bradford. Although Gaia knew about Jane's personality, Gaia felt like the girl wanted to pick a fight with Ghost. She wondered why and planned to ask her after he terrifies Jane by killing all her guards. Oh fuck, the little devil Jane. Shut up, if she hears you she will kill you. Hat, look, it's Ghost. What is he doing with her? They finally arrived outside and caught the eyes of many people on the streets. Many people's expressions changed, and their faces became as pale as a white sheet when they saw Jane. In Bradford, Baron Totonk had more authority and power than the King of Breedia himself. It was not because of Baron Totonk's leadership but because of Jane's grandfather, Reginald Totonk, who was a core formation, level 7 cultivator. He was one of the characters in the Kingdom Breedia who had the capabilities to challenge Breedia's finest warrior under King Breedia. Jane was the only daughter of the Totonk family. She had 3 brothers who were serving in the military and 2 uncles who were also great generals in the army. Therefore, the might of the Totonk family could not be underestimated. She had been greatly pampered as she was the only daughter of the family. So she had become spoilt and conceited. However, she was extremely skilled. Her level of cultivation and arch energy had reached a superior level even though she was very young. The people had given her the nickname Alpha Girl because she was blessed, or cursed, with a strong feminist mentality who looked one on all males. Most of the young masters present at the scene had a bitter experience with her in the past. Also, she was often seen with one of the prodigies of Breedia, Selena. Young man, if you want to blame something, blame your bad luck. There were 16 male and female guards around Jane, and one of the men said, looking at Michael, "Oh shit, they're going to fight? Who is that kid in black?" "He's the one who won Heaven's Gate competition, you moron." "Ghost, the Ghost? Holy shit. Ghost versus Devil. Holy moly, what the hell is going on here?" The crowd went crazy and murmured, looking at the scene while walking backward away from the scene as they didn't want to be collateral damage by standing in their way. "Human, beat them to near death but do not kill them," Gaia whispered into Michael's ears before walking away from him. As much as he loved to disagree with Gaia, he knew she's right. Beating them to a pulp was bad enough, but if he killed them, the consequences would be disastrous, at least until he became strong enough. He couldn't afford to be the #1 target of the Baron. So for now, he had to settle for only badass points, not experience points. "I hope you have good health insurance." His smile freaked the guard as if one was smiling at a time like this. He must be either crazy or extremely powerful. But showing the doubts aside, the guard lifted his sword and rushed towards Michael. Michael just merely sneered as bolts of lightning rushed out of his fingers. On the opposite, a powerful aura surged from the sword and completely enshrouded the guard's entire body. With the responsive shield and his current strength, there was no need for him to use his full power unless he wanted to kill the guard. He reduced the power of the bolts of lightning and it would be enough to bring the guard to his knees and break a few bones in the process. This was a battle between a body refining stage, a level 5 fighter, and a level 2 body strengthening stage fighter. The guard had just approached Michael, but in an instant, an enormous force had enveloped him. His expression changed drastically as T-guard realized that something was wrong. Lightning dash, thud, thud, thud. The guard halted his steps when he saw the youngster in front of him disappear, and then he felt a sharp pain all over his body. The crowd could only see a light dance around the guards as his body bled more and more. Jane's face also turned pale because she could see what's happening more clearly than the commoners. He was punching the guard back and forth with the force enough to damage his metal armor and break his bones. A few moments after the guard started to move his body in weird shapes, he was sent flying a few feet. He fell to the ground with a loud thud, immediately coughing up a spurt of blood, and then lost his consciousness. The whole crowd went so silent instantly that you could hear a pin drop. Damn, Gaia raised her brows looking at the bloodied bones sticking out of the guard's body. Now shall we dance? Michael flicked his wrist as the blood of the guard splashed on the ground. Chapter 50 Boom. Michael's level 5 body refining power had been released to its full potential, to the amazement of everyone in the crowd. How is this possible? Everyone stared wide-eyed and incredulously at him, their minds completely blank at the sight. How could such a young fighter at the body refining stage defeat a body strengthening stage warrior? Jane's face was full of shock and confusion as she could hardly believe what had just happened. What was even more difficult for her to accept was that it had been only a few days since he competed in Heaven's Gate competition as a formation stage cultivator. How had he achieved level 5 of the body refining stage at such a terrifying speed? It's impossible. It's utterly impossible, muttered Jane, but she quickly hid her shock and shouted at the remaining guards. What are you waiting for? Go. The rest of the guards stepped forward and surrounded him. I suggest you all attack together? Jeered Michael with a snicker. He was not surprised by them ganging up at all. It was a viable and correct strategy to deal with someone as powerful as himself. But because of the responsive shield, he had no fear towards the guards. Wow, look at him, he seems so cool and calm. I think Jane met her match. Let's wait and see. I can't believe he can beat all the guards after all. He's just a body refining stage cultivator. The onlookers started to murmur among themselves, looking at the scene as a continuous beep sound rang in Michael's mind. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. However, instead of starting to attack Michael, they gave the injured guard a healing pill and then locked their ferocious eyes on him, ready to pounce at him. One of them was a powerful woman who was the best amongst the other guards, at level 4 of the body strengthening stage. She was Jane's personal guardian, and she was deeply enraged by the sight of her friends as well as her colleagues' heavy injuries. System, how much for upgrading the responsive shield to the next level? The level 3 responsive shield will be able to block all the attacks of or under the body strengthening stage level 6. The upgrade cost will be 9,000 badass points. It was a huge jump in upgrade cost as it only cost him 1,500 points to upgrade the shield from level 1 to level 2. Yet, to upgrade to level 3 he had to pay 9,000 points, and also, the shield's effect would be only increased 4 levels of the cultivation. Previously it was able to protect him from the attacks of body strengthening stage level 2, and now, at level 3, it could protect him from the attacks of body straightening stage level 6. Upgrade the shield. System, I don't want to underestimate my enemies or overestimate myself. He played far too many RPG games and movies to know what would happen when you either overestimate yourself or underestimate the opponent in a battle. Because of this and his gut feeling, he quickly upgraded the shield and exited the system to continue to reap the badass points off this fight without any worries. Get on your knees and apologize now, shouted the woman angrily at him when he exited the system. Her tone was icy cold and she seemed to be out for blood. Many of the people in the crowd were shocked. They had never expected Michael beat the guard to near death. He would have to wield extraordinary power to achieve such a feat. Now all eyes turned automatically to the female guard and Michael. Michael, however, merely smirked at the woman. They'll give you the same offer, kneel down and apologize. I may leave a few bones in your bodies unbroken. His smile on his lips turned into a cold scowl. Gasp. Everyone in the crowd was horrified at his attitude. Even though some of them had seen what he could do in Heaven's Gate competition, they still couldn't believe that he could defeat a powerful warrior such as this woman in front of him. The guards were even more enraged now, and Jane was trembling in anger. Only one of them remained beside Jane, keeping her from jumping into a fight with Michael. The rest all stepped forward and unleashed their powerful swords, all simultaneously charging towards him. A group of lions was now pouncing on a rabbit with all their might, and only Gaia knew who's the lion and rabbit in this scene. They all knew too that his strength was not to be underestimated, so they each used their most powerful moves to besiege him. However, he remained calm and was not the least bit afraid of the oncoming attack. He had every possible move in his arsenal to fight against these bastards. For instance, he could just use Ignitia and easily eliminate a few of these fighters without much effort. He didn't choose to use lightning bolts though. Instead, he stomped the ground as the sword which was previously wielded by the guard flew up and landed in his hand. He then dashed straight towards the guards who were approaching him. Lightning dash. Obviously he was not going to care about gender when it comes to battle. With every swing of his sword, his cuts were neat and precisely on target. The whole crowd was so shocked by the scene that was unfolding that they could hardly blink. Many were unable to see what's going on, including the guards, because of the speed of his movements. At this point, the air in their surroundings grew colder and colder, as if something mysterious was closing in on them. But none of them noticed it yet. Jane was now blinded by fury, and her face turned bright red. She had been practically ruling Bradford and everyone would tremble in front of her, yet today her own guards were being beaten to death one by one. Moreover, her guards were struggling to even land a single blow. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 400 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Michael left the main female guard, who asked him to kneel down alone for desert and only beat the others to a pulp. Seeing her colleagues and friends fall one by one bathed in their own blood, her murderous aura intensified. You piece of filth. I'll break your bones with my bare hands. You'll fucking die today. Cursed the guard as Michael deactivated the lightning dash. Around him, the guards lied on the ground in their own pool of blood. Many bones were sticking out of their body and their faces were messed up to the point that their own mothers would have a hard time recognizing them. Shit. Oh my god. The crowd trembled at the sight and weak-hearted ones looked pale. Only Gaia had a wicked smile on her face and craved some snacks. Let me go. On the other side, Jane tried to dash forwards and fight him herself, but the guard with her didn't let her go. Miss Jane, I don't think you can defeat him. Hell, I doubt even Maria could defeat him. The best move is now to leave this place and tend to their wounds before they bleed to death, the guard told Jane, and he didn't care about Jane throwing a temper tantrum because his first priority was to protect her. At Morningstar Sect, she was ranked within the top 50 of her batch before she joined as a personal guard to Jane. She personally recruited everyone in Jane's protection detail and trained them herself and considered the guards as her own elite students. But now he almost killed them and prepared to do the same to her. Thinking about this, her blood boiled in anger, and this was not about Jane's order anymore but personal for her. She stared at him furiously. Just like what you did to them, I will break all your bones and bathe in your blood, she snapped. Following what she said, a flying sword materialized in front of her out of thin air. Fierce sword light appeared like flames and made the people close their eyes for a moment with its brightness. The sword light was like an overwhelming storm that rushed fiercely towards Michael. This was beyond her level of endurance. There was no need to tolerate further. The female guard wanted to defeat him by any means necessary as the crowd of onlookers gulped in mouthfuls of cold air, their faces looking grim. This sword technique, can it be the Sunflare art of Morningstar Sect? This is too strong, such momentum. This technique clearly contains formidable sword will. She's really infuriated. By using such a potent attack, she obviously wants him dead no matter what. The Morningstar Sect is truly powerful. Many people among the crowd felt a chill that made them numb in the head. Even Gaia frowned when she noticed the formidable aura the sword is radiating. On the other hand, Michael still wore a serene expression, facing what was to come calmly. No matter how powerful or fancy the spell, she was just a level 4 of the body-strengthening cultivator. Break him, Maria! Jane shouted as the guards dashed at Michael, who had no intention to move his body. Boom! There was a loud collision as the sword clashed with the responsive shield. The afterwaves produced by the clash swept across the area and pushed many people to the ground as well as broke some glass windows around them. The crowd stared in horror as Gaia murmured, "This bastard really is very powerful." Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 900 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Chapter 51. When the dust rose by their clash cleared, they saw Michael standing there without even a cut on his body. Everyone's eyes landed on him in aghast, and the female guard couldn't believe what she's seeing. How could he survive that? What spell he used? There's not even a cut on his body. This kind of power somehow seemed too formidable to the crowd. He snickered again and brushed the dust off his shoulder as badass points kept increasing in the system. I don't know why your young miss picked a fight with me, but it's not going to end well for you. The guard beside Jane and Jane wore severe expressions on their faces. The female guard, Maria, who had fought him, was already their strongest member. She had even executed the Morningstar sect's sun flare art, and yet it couldn't even touch him. They had now realized why he was calm and cool in the face of battle with them. The female guardian was so enraged that she was shaking. Although her cultivation strength was higher than him, her sword technique had been so easily dismissed by a teenager. This was difficult for her to accept. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. However, he didn't care about her anger at all as he casually walked towards her. Each step he took forward, she took a step backward subconsciously in fear. Gaia now strolled forward head high and her hands behind her back to join Michael to share bask in his spotlight. What is he planning to do? Is he going to kill her? Yeah, I think so. He's crazy. I hope he breaks that bitch Jane's teeth. Shut up. The crowd looked at Michael with fear and excitement. Bastard. If you touch her. On the other side, Jane screamed and struggled to free herself from the clutch of the guard. She didn't expect him to be so powerful, even though she was warned by Selena. But ignoring her shout, Michael clutched Mariah's neck as she gasped for air and wiggled. She had used most of her arch energy in her last attack, and now, she didn't have much energy left to fight him. The system's red warning about killing a person already appeared in his mind, just like when the time at Heaven's Gate competition. Since he was not going to kill her, he ignored the warning and smiled at Maria wickedly. A cold chill ran through her spine when she saw his smile, and before she could do anything, he punched her in the face. She felt like a hammer hitting her face and almost blacked out. Now stop. Almost at the same time, a cry was heard from afar, and it was Jane, who seemed boiling in anger. However, he did not stop or let Maria go. His eyes were cold, and without any hesitation, he continued to use her as a punching bag. Each of his punches had enough force to break her bones, and after rapidly landing 20 or 30 punches, Maria completely lost her consciousness and his fist started to ache. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. A long series of system messages popped up and rang in his mind. In a matter of seconds, his badass points skyrocketed. He checked the total number of H points on the interface screen and discovered that in the blink of an eye, had accumulated a total of 6,000 badass points. But of course, if you take into account the 22,000 badass points that he still owed the system, then he was in fact still very poor. But this was indeed a good harvest. Bastard. Jane cursed in an angry manner as she finally used arch energy to break free from the guard's clutches. She then rushed towards him and leaped at him with a fireball in her hand. Miss Jane, stop. Wind blast. Michael just sneered and raised his hands to send a wave of wind to blast her midair. Her anger and arrogance overcame her reasoning, and as a price, she was sent flying before even she could attack him with the fireball. Ah. The guard was quick enough to catch her in the air before she hit the ground and suffered some wounds. Lightning dash, and when she realized what just happened, Michael appeared before her. As much as Gaia loved to kill Jane, she knew what would happen if he killed Jane, therefore she rushed towards Michael. Aha! The guard immediately placed his hand on his sword, fearing that Michael would hurt Jane, but Michael raised his finger and stopped him. Jane's eyes contained uncontrollable anger than fear as he smiled. The reason I leave you alive is I don't like wars and am not going to start one with your daily because of you. But if you mess with me again, you and all the Bradford will know the power behind me, he said in a rather hushed voice as only Jane and the guard could hear. Let's go, he turned back and said to Gaia. She nodded and gave Jane the middle finger before following him behind. The crowd instantly moved away from his path and stared at him terrified, but many youngsters who had a bitter experience with Jane looked at him with eyes full of respect and worship. He taught the little devil a true lesson today and earned their respect. Many of course thought that he was afraid of killing her because of her status as Baron's daughter. But those can go screw themselves as far as Michael was concerned. Beating the guards alone messed up his plans and might bring him some bitter consequences, let alone killing Jane, which would bring down the wrath of a powerful local ruler. That was why he bluffed about the power behind him to Jane. The reason he said quietly was he didn't want to scare off the potential badass points givers. How could he earn more badass points if everyone became afraid of him thinking that he has a mighty background? He only wanted the Baron to think like that. A genius leader like him wouldn't act quickly without getting all his information checked, and if Michael's guess was right, the Baron would buy his bluff and would not do anything rash at least for some time. Michael could use that time to grow in strength and forge powerful connections within Breedia. That bitch. Because of her we couldn't buy what we needed. Human, what do we do now? Gaia was pissed off about Jane messing with their plans. You tell me it's obvious Green Heaven won't sell anything to us anymore, so we have to look for another store, he said, but Gaia shook her head. You don't understand, human, no one would sell anything to you. The first thing she will do is blacklist you. So good luck buying anything in Bradford unless you reveal your star level to the Baron himself. She was right, and although he was extremely frustrated at the fact that he couldn't kill Jane, he calmed himself to think of another plan. He already bought the building for 20,000 and wasn't going to let the coins go to waste. However, he couldn't directly reveal his secret as he planned to surprise everyone after he opens the shop. Sunrise Sect has a herbal garden, right? I have to use that. Get in. He raised his sleeve and motioned her to attach herself to him. Yet, she seemed reluctant. You became too powerful, your soul energy will resist. So you can't attach yourself to me like before? I can, but it will be only for 2 or 3 hours, said Gaia. I'll be enough. Come get in. He was relieved to hear that she could do that as he didn't want to buy anything from the system to remedy this situation. She then closed her eyes and in a few seconds she transformed into a small light ball. The light ball merged itself with Michael, and when he saw his forearm, he saw the black snake tattoo appear again. Together they dashed towards the Sunrise Sect where Daniel and Ricky were waiting for them. Chapter 52. Michael activated the lightning dash and moved towards the direction of Sunrise Sect like a bolt of lightning. The battle with the guards had made him completely understand his current combat strength and capabilities, so the battle had provided him with lots of insights on what part he needs to improve and focus on. For instance, he relied on the responsive too much and didn't have a powerful non-lethal attack. Hey Gaia, do you think I beat them enough? How long will it take the guards to heal? He asked while dashing towards the Sunrise Sect. Why do you ask? Just curious, he said, but Gaia knew that he's brewing something evil in his mind and wanted more information from her. But when it comes to evil things, she liked the way he thinks and considered him a fellow evildoer. I could have beat them more and crippled their cultivation. Still, you did mess them up, especially the last guard. Without any expensive healing pills or potions, it will at least take them a year to get out of the bed. Even then, they have to use a wheelchair or crutches for a couple of years to move around. He had no sympathy for the guards because they would have done the same to him if he was weak. What if they took a healing potion brewed by me? Suddenly Gaia burst into evil laughter after hearing him. You're planning to sell healing potions to the guards? The same guards who were beaten to half-death by you in the first place, aren't you? Yes, there's a 90% chance Jane would buy your healing potions if you sell them in Bradford. Considering the way she was looking at the guards when you were beating them, I can tell she has a soft spot for them and hate to see her guards broken. After all, she was the reason for their state. I have to tell you, human, I like the way you think. Thank you, Snakey, he chuckled. Don't call me that, she shouted at him, but he loved making her angry, so her shout only made him more amused. So the last thing you said to her, is it true? Although his bluff to Jane before leaving the scene was hushed, Gaia heard it loud and clear. What do you think? Instead of answering, he questioned her to see what's her take. After all, she wasn't a simple-minded person. I think what you said is half true. You don't have a family, but you do, however, have someone powerful behind you. How else would you have learned alchemy and these weird spells you use? He was slightly surprised by her answer because it was spot on. The only thing she missed was the powerful person behind him is not an actual person but the system, the almighty badass system. Of course, he wouldn't tell her about the system as only a stupid person would do that. Am I right? Gaia asked, and he sensed a tinge of proudness in her voice. Maybe, was his answer, and then in a few minutes they reached the outskirts of the Sunrise Sect. The sect was located between River Town and Bradford. Until now, he didn't pay much mind to the location, but now he scanned everything while moving towards his house. It was a land with splendid mountain ranges and tall mountain peaks. The natural arch energy was rich on top of the mountain compared to the mountain base or foothills. Everywhere he turned, he could see nothing but lush green grasslands and various sizes of mountains. The scene vaguely resembled the Torre a Castello of Italy, only greener and more hills. If this place was on Earth, it would have been a paradise for trekkers, but he wondered why or how many plants surrounding the sect buildings dried up. Adding to the beauty of the place, the mountains were surrounded by a faint fog. This place truly gave off a holy and noble feeling. This mountain range was called Scarlet Summit before it was named Sunrise Mountains by the founders of the Sunrise sect. Countless mountain peaks spread across the mountain range. It was said that the founder of the Sunrise sect had discovered an underground arch energy vein here, therefore, he occupied this place and established the Sunrise sect. However, the energy vein of the Sunrise sect grew weaker and weaker with time and became one of the many reasons for the sect's current situation. The energy vein, aside from it being able to provide the best cultivation environment and gather natural energies, was also a representation of fortune. Each of the three big sects had occupied land with energy veins. This was the reason why they were eternally prosperous and had produced countless geniuses. This place is beautiful. Stopping at the foothill, he stared at the beautiful scenery filled with light fog and couldn't help but praise it. Beautiful, but the arch energy density is weak. No wonder they can't produce powerful cultivators as the other three sects. Gaia's voice sounded in his mind, and her reaction was not like Michael's. Her experience was much richer compared to him. A small sect like the Sunrise sect wasn't qualified to even be ranked in Nagaland. "Your Royal Highness, can you get out of my arm now?" Michael said sarcastically. "For a moment, you sounded nice," she growled and appeared before him in her human form. Both of them started moving to walk up the mountain. "Brother Ghost, Master Ghost." Just when they had ascended half the mountain, they heard some shouts, and then a few girls dressed in orange clothes walked towards them with a wide smile on their faces. But when some of the girls saw Gaia standing beside him, their faces lost the color and seemed discouraged. Others quickly surrounded Gaia and curiously looked at her. "You must be Sister Elia, and who told you that?" She answered with her trademark scornful attitude as the girls laughed. "You just like Teacher Mark said, hee hee, and Brother Ghost, did you kill something on the way?" "You reek of blood," one of the girls asked, twitching her nose. "Just beat up some guards in Bradford," he casually said and continued to walk up the mountain. "Yeah, the guards of Bradford Baron's daughter." The girls almost tripped when they heard Gaia and looked terrified. "Oh my God, you messed with Evil Jane? Please tell me you didn't do anything to her." "We left that bitch unharmed for now," she shamelessly boasted to the girls while he chose to remain silent rather than spoiling her moment. Since Gaia was said to be Ghost's friend, the girls didn't mock her for being a mortal girl as Gaia continued to describe everything that happened in Bradford and centered herself as the main character. "Then Ghost stopped me from teaching the guard a lesson. If he didn't stop me, I would have broken a few more bones in his body." He stopped walking and stared at her, but she gave him a "let me have my moment" look as he sighed and continued walking up the mountain. He was really surprised at her talent of lying so convincingly, as the girls had already started to believe that she fought the guards beside him despite being a mortal. Looking at the girls eating out of her hands and Michael didn't say anything, Gaia lied through her teeth more boldly and enjoyed the worship and admiration in the girls' eyes. Although the girls were terrified at the fact these two just messed with one of the most influential and dangerous persons in Breedia, the girls couldn't help but admire Ghost's valor, and after Gaia's story, they also admired Gaia's courage. Of course, only Michael knew what Gaia boasted was nothing but hogwash. Chapter 53 Sect Leader Claire. Brother Ghost is back. Jack, who saw Michael at his home from a distance, quickly ran to Claire's mansion and informed her. Elder Reiner and Elder Mark were busy teaching the students as only Claire and Elder Miles left the building to go meet Ghost. Claire was in a good enlightened mood today as Elder Sandra got better after taking the pill concocted by Michael, but she didn't know her mood was going to hit rock bottom soon. While she and Elder Miles were following Jack to Michael's home, Michael was busy scrolling through the cloth section of the system. He loved black outfits, and even though he filtered the section to show only black ones, he was still left with a huge number of choices. Tuxedo? He'll look like a freaking clown in this world if I wore a tuxedo. If he wore a tuxedo in this world, it would be like a teenage girl among a group of old women. He would be in the spotlight. He already had enough of attracting bad people like Jane. System, do you have Black Panther outfit? He excitedly asked the system after recalling the black outfit King T'Challa wore in the Black Panther movie. However, his smile froze on his face when the system showed him the Black Panther's vibranium armor that cost 500,000 badass points. Fortunately, he didn't want the vibranium outfit but the King T'Challa robes that he wore when T'Challa welcomed Bruce Banner to Wakanda. Not this armor system, the black robes he wore in the movie. Then in a few seconds the outfit finally appeared in front of him with its stats. Item name, T'Challa King Robes. Durability, 1 year. Special traits, none. Price, 500 badass points. Awesome, for Wakanda. He laughed happily and equipped the outfit. The main reason for his purchase was the Neo costume had started to reek blood and he wore it ever since he came to this world, so it's time for him to make over. He then wore the Mark III grappling hook under his sleeve and left the system. Young Master Ghost is taking quite a long time to change dress, Ricky, who was in an elevated mood thinking about his monthly wage, said. Obviously young Master Ghost is rummaging through his clothes to choose one, Daniel replied as Gaia couldn't wait outside anymore and rushed into the house to drag him out. Why is he taking this long? Is he wearing makeup or something like girls? Gaia complained. She was not the kind of girl who would get ready for a few hours wearing all the makeup from top to bottom. When she was a princess, she rarely wore fancy cloth or makeup, and instead she used the money allocated for her personal expense to bribe officials and ministers in Nagaland. Only because of these bribes she was able to escape the prison before her stepmother, the current queen of Nagaland, orders her henchmen to kill her. She was already frustrated by waiting for him, and when she saw him standing before a mirror and checking his hair, she became furious. The way he looked at his reflection was like a husband enjoying his wife's beauty for the first time. "What the fuck are you doing?" she shouted. Although he could see himself in the system status window, looking through the mirror had a unique feel, and he loved what's in the mirror. "Geez, quit shouting and let me correct my hair." On Earth he had short-length hair, but now, he had shoulder-length hair that required some time to tie back. "You're weird as hell, now come out. Everyone is waiting for you." He sighed and followed her back outside where he saw the girls narrating the events to sect leader Claire. Daniel and Ricky trembled as Claire looked pale. "Ghost, is it true? Did you attack Jane's guards?" Elder Miles asked as his voice broke in fear. Michael, however, seemed calm and smiled at Claire and Miles. "I didn't attack them, they attacked me first, I just defended myself," he said with a straight face, but it didn't reduce their fear. "Sect leader Claire, I want some herbs and items from the sect, can I take them?" While Claire was still in shock and Miles was searching for words, he calmly asked her. Yes, her mind was not properly processing what she had just heard and said instinctively. "Daniel, Ricky, go to Rivertown and hire me 2 Pegasi," he ordered his newly recruited henchmen as they quickly nodded despite their shock. He then tossed a pouch of coins and gestured at Jack to lead the way to the herbal garden. Gaia also ignored Elder Miles and the female disciples as she followed him behind. What's the point of worrying now? Besides, Michael hated to console Claire and Miles, and as far as he was concerned, these people needed to grow a spine. If one wanted to destroy this sect, they would have already done it. "Brother Ghost." On their way to the herbal garden, Jack opened his mouth to ask something, but Michael stopped him midway. "Jack, no one is going to attack the sect, just let me deal with Jane." After following Jack for a few minutes, they reached the herbal garden. There were not many herbs, and even calling it a garden was a little too much. He could only see a bunch of pots with herbs, and most of the land was occupied by nothing but grass. Luckily his expectation was low, and therefore, he didn't expect much from the garden. He went straight into the garden and picked all 20 herbs in the garden as Jack's mouth opened wide because it was all they had left. "Why are you acting so shocked? These are just common herbs." Plop. Gaia slapped the back of Jack's head and said while Michael finished picking all the herbs he needed to concoct some pills. Of course it was not the pills he initially planned, but this would kickstart his master plan. Among the pills he could concoct and potions he could brew, he still needed some advice from Gaia. "Elia, follow me, I need to talk to you." Plop. "Ah." Jack cried because she slapped Jack again for no reason before following Michael into the nearby building. "Human, what's the plan?" "I can do many things with these pills, but I think healing potions and revitalizing pills would bring more crowd and money." Revitalizing pills were pills that could cleanse the body to remove the impurities of the body, which would increase cultivation speed. By taking many less pure pills and potions, cultivators' bodies would have impurities in the bloodstream, and revitalizing pills were a way to remove the impurities. Good choices. What else can you make with them? Arch energy boosters, strength enhancements, and breast enlargement pills, which you desperately need. Okay, wait, what? She clenched her fist as a flash of anger and shock swept across her face. He loved making her angry by teasing her. Maybe he loved this a little too much. "You perverted asshole." She picked up the vase and threw it at him, aiming for his face, but he easily caught the vase. He then placed the vase near him. "I don't need those pills, you blind bastard." Despite being angry, she didn't miss the opportunity to proudly show off her ample bosom. Back to the topic at hand, which pills do you think would attract more crowds? It took several seconds to calm her down, and when she calmed down, she gave her opinion. "Whatever a 5-star alchemist makes, people would buy them, but considering we don't have many ingredients to work with, I'd recommend we sell healing potions, revitalizing pills, and arch energy boosters. Do you have a price point for all these pills? She thought about the question regarding the prices for a few more seconds before answering it. Healing potions, 13,000 gold coins, revitalizing pills can be sold for 11,000 and arch energy boosters. I'd say 10,000 each for Gaia. These amounts were simple, but for Michael, who barely had any gold coins left, became extremely happy. Besides, these were all just low-level pills and potions he had to make due to the lack of ingredients, but with enough badass points, he could buy rare herb seeds from the store and grow it in the sect rather than buying them from the stores. After seeing the outrageous price for the herbs in the system store, he decided that it would be cost-effective to buy the seeds that were way cheaper than the grown herbs and grow them in the sect's garden. The seed pack cost 6,000 badass points and an extra 1,000 for a compost that would make the herbs grow in 2 days. The seed pack sold by the system had various rare herbs and items to concoct and brew special pills and potions. Alright Gaia, time to earn some sweet gold. Chapter 54 Young Master Ghost, is this your shop? Amidst the busy bustling streets of Bradford, 2 Pegasuses, or Pegasi, landed on the street as 2 youngsters, 1 young girl and a man in his early 30s, descended on the ground. Obviously, the 2 youngsters were Michael and Ricky, the young girl was Gaia, and the last was Daniel. The one who asked the question was Ricky. Apparently, Ricky's eyes opened wide in surprise, but his surprised face turned gloomy after seeing the empty interior of the shop. Ricky, Daniel, instead of directly going into the store, Michael called his 2 henchmen to step closer to him. From here on, call me Master Ghost, drop the young, it's really awkward especially when you use it. He looked at Ricky when he said the last part. Michael would have ordered them to call him sir, but apparently in this world, calling someone master was more respectful than calling him sir. For the young part, he felt awkward when someone called him young master, especially someone who was just a year or 2 older than him like Ricky. Huh. Ricky and Daniel tilted their heads and looked at him confused, but a few moments later, they nodded as they had no plan to go against his orders considering the pay he promised. And I'd like to hear them call me your Royal Highness, Gaia mumbled under her breath. You 2 put the Pegasus on the side and clean this place. Then he bought out some decorative objects from his system store to decorate his store with. These include things like wallpaper, fancy sofa and chairs in a modern style, some decorative ornaments meant for the glass window, and some colorful lights, which had never been seen by anyone in the cultivation world before. You got another one? When he put down the sofa, Gaia couldn't hide her shock, but she quickly landed her butt into the fluffy sofa. Quit playing and come help me with this, you damn snake, he knocked on the head as she stood up, massaging her head where he knocked. Ah! Jerk! Daniel and Ricky missed this little quarrel as the 4 of them began to clean and decorate the store. With the help of the 2 hard-working henchmen and 1 lazy snake, he set about doing his job quickly. He dispersed all the beautiful modern decorations around the store, illuminating the lights with arch energy. Little by little the people who were roaming on the streets noticed this and were surprised by what they had seen, but because of the dark curtains covering the windows, they still couldn't see clearly what's going on inside. They worked for almost 2 hours, and though some of the onlookers left, soon many other people arrived. After all, these objects were all very fancy and included things that they had never laid eyes on before. Even though the decorations were temporary, he did his best to make the shop look the best. Finally, after all the decorations had been done, he bought a giant blank board and placed them on the ground. What do we name our shop? Of course, he needed a badass name for the shop because he didn't plan to be done with one shop but create an empire of businesses. Ilya Alchemy. Ilya Alchemy. Like the only kid who had done the homework, Gaia raised her arm and excitedly shouted. And just like the kids who never touched the homework, Ricky and Daniel gawked at each other awkwardly. You wish, Humph? You have no taste, she pouted, but he ignored her and picked his mind for a better name. The Majestic. Ah, what? Who would name a single shop the Majestic, Gaia thought, and even the 2 henchmen frowned. Yes, we name this shop the Majestic. He could imagine hundreds of branches all over this world with the name the Majestic. Just by mere thought he felt extremely excited. A suitable name for an alchemy empire. Are you seriously thinking to name this shop the Majestic? She air-quoted the last 2 words and snickered. Just imagine. He stepped closer as he put his hand around her neck, and surprisingly, she didn't resist. Hundreds of shops all over the world, the Majestic. And when we build our main headquarters, we can call the place the Majestic City. How cool is that? When you put it like that, it does sound not so bad, she said as she also put her hand around his neck. Both Daniel and Ricky scratched the back of their head looking at these 2. Now, who's going to write the name on the board? He asked, looking at Gaia as he expected her to write the name considering his handwriting sucks. Usually, girls would have beautiful handwriting compared to the boys, therefore he looked at her. "Gimme the brush." Looking at his gaze, she rolled her eyes and grabbed the brush to write the name on the board. After a few minutes she finished writing the name and it looked gorgeous. It even shocked Michael because her handwriting looked computerized. "That's how you do it." Pride in her work and arrogance oozed out of her face. Without giving any snarky comments, Michael gestured at Ricky and Daniel to hang the sign outside. As soon as the people saw the sign in the store, they were greatly surprised. Amongst all the buildings in Bradford City, it was really rare to see such a new, smart, and modern-looking store. This store had a strange name too, the Majestic. "Hey, have you heard the news that Ghost beat up Jane's bodyguards in front of her?" "I have already heard this news. He has way too many balls if you ask me." "Yeah, no sure, but I bet he would have realized by now who he had messed with and never returned to Bradford." "That's baloney. He just opened up a store. Its name is the Majestic." "My God. Really? Can that guy open a store? Who would dare to visit his store?" "Exactly. It's a pity that his store hasn't opened to the public yet. I wonder what its main commodity would be. I've heard that he is planning to sell meat." "No, I've heard he is going to open a brothel and the girl with him is the merchandise." Michael had no idea about the rumors and the tales spreading across Bradford about his shop. The portions and the pills were not very complicated. As long as ingredients were available, everything could be made easily in a few minutes. As the main pillar of the shop, alchemist, what he could do was concoct the pills and brew the potions while Ricky and Daniel stand guard outside. Gaia, on the other hand, wrote down the effects of each pill and potion on the billboard so that the customers could place orders accordingly. Now everything was ready. "Okay, let's set a small goal of earning 300,000 gold on an opening day," he calmly said to the three in front of them. Hearing his goal, Ricky and Daniel freaked out as they only knew that he's an alchemist but they had no idea what star alchemist he is. Is he planning to earn 300 gold on an opening day? How could this be possible? Regardless of whether or not the two were believing this, he was quite confident himself, so was Gaia. "Alright Elia, put the menu outside and let's make some money." "Money?" Gaia shouted with vigorous spirit and paced towards the outside where a lot of curious onlookers had already gathered. Many people were discussing the commodity of the store, for the renovation style was so novelty that none of them had ever seen anything like in the past. Also, some people were looking forward to witnessing the Baron's wrath for beating his daughter's bodyguards. Finally, he ordered Ricky to remove the curtains and let the people outside bask in the glory of his new shop. Being fully surprised, all onlookers stared at the store with curiosity. Along with the lifting of dark curtains, a typical Manhattan boutique-style shop came into view of the onlookers. All onlookers were totally shocked and dumbfounded. "Awesome. It's really beautiful. Look at that. It really turns me on. Wow, look at those spotless windows and the interior. Gee, look, it seems it's an alchemy store. Oh, a healing pill costs 13,000 gold. Shit, he has revitalizing pills for sale. I can't afford this. This is daytime robbery. Why don't he go rob the king?" As these onlookers started to read the menu on the billboards, they trembled at the sight of the prices. Their eyes widened in great shock. My God, this must be one wicked store. Chapter 55. Ghost is a 5. Hearing this, Michael didn't react at all but waited for Gaia to write the last part on the board. He lounged on the sofa and relaxed his body. The store was full of people but no one dared to take a step forward and make an order as everything was just so expensive. "Oh, wait a moment, look over there," a man suddenly yelled, pointing to the shop sign after Gaia finished writing. "Holy moly, 80% pure pills. Oh my God, are the pills and potions made by Alchemy King Gabriel? If this is true, then the price is actually very reasonable. This cannot be true. Just think, Lord Keswick didn't have any shops anywhere. Yes, you are right. If this store is his, he would have come here. Besides, the prices were really high so no one was willing to try anything. But the written introductions were really alluring, especially for cultivators who were now experiencing a bottleneck in the development of their powers. They were desperate to ascend to a higher stage in a short time. That was why the price of the Arch Energy boosters made by Gabriel had gone up to 15,000 gold coins in the auction. Now, one just needed to spend 10,000 coins and they could possibly enjoy the same effect as the difference between Gabriel's pill and here, only 4%. "Excuse me, miss, what if I fail to get into a higher stage after I take your Arch Energy booster?" asked a middle-aged man who was at level 2 of the body refining stage. He is the master of the Vincent family, a very influential family in Sarton. I never thought that he would come here alone. It is said that he has been in a bottleneck for 20 years, I think he might never enter the next stage in this life without a powerful pill or portion. I guess he would like to take this opportunity. Anyway, he should tell us what he will do if the pill does not work. All of a sudden, everyone stared at Gaia as she scanned the man from top to bottom. After a few seconds, she agreed with the man. If this man took an arch energy booster purer than 80%, he would break the bottleneck and break through to the next stage. Ghost, she turned around and nodded at Michael. He slowly sat straight on the sofa. According to your current state, if you take the 80% pure arch energy booster, he'll guarantee you that you'll break through to the next level. If not, I will pay you back with 10 times the pill's value. Not only that, but we also give 10 times the coins you spent if the products were not 80% pure. Seeing this, people at present took a deep breath. He did not only give a guarantee but also said he would compensate him with 10 times the product's original value? Really? He would pay 100,000 gold coins? The master was a little hesitant. After all, 10,000 gold coins was not a small amount of money. He had to think carefully before making any move, but Michael's confident voice and guarantee somewhat reassured him to take the gamble. Right at this moment, many more onlookers came. Do not be tricked by him. He must be lying. Yes. No one would dare to ask for compensation from him if the pill does not have the effect he claims it does. You all know who he really is, you can do nothing about him. Hearing this, all people at present were in agreement. Yes, even if the pill was fake, no one would dare to ask for compensation from him, especially after he beat the crap out of Jane's bodyguards. Bang. Gaia suddenly dashed towards the crowd with a cold, "Ah. What are you doing?" A few onlookers were dragged out and thrown onto the street by her while Michael sat still without stopping her because they were bad for his business. She then stepped on their chests so hard as bone-cracking noises came from their chest. The next minute they all began to spit out blood and passed out. You bastards are really brazen. How dare you speak ill of our shop, the Majestic? Gaia sneered, and even though she was just a mortal, no one dared to raise a finger against her because of Michael. Then she walked slowly back to the store as people backed off and got out of her way. They realized that not only Michael but his beautiful charming girlfriend was also a cruel devil. If you can't afford our products, no problem, but if you dare speak ill of our establishment, I will kick the shit out of you all. Everyone felt furious and stunned, including Ricky and Daniel. Just a moment ago she seemed so harmless and cute, but in a few seconds she turned into a scarier version of Jane, or even worse. Even with her mortal status she's this arrogant, and imagine if she has the cultivation level of Ghost. Damn. Even his girlfriend is exactly like him, bitch. How dare she treat them like this? But they all noticed Michael standing there calmly, so no one opened their mouth to complain about Gaia's behavior. As far as Michael was concerned, most of these poor bastards can't afford his price and didn't care about their feelings. Like Gaia said, if they have the guts to speak ill of his shop, they better be ready to get their asses kicked. Ghost, since you are running a business, you should not treat customers like this, the master of Winsent family said. In the Majestic, we put the customers first, but we also do not tolerate any kind of false claims against our products, Michael calmly said as the people at present were stunned. Put the customers first? Seriously? The master of the Winsent family also shook his head. Ghost, as a businessman you should always be honest. You said that if the products are not 80% pure, you will compensate us with 10 times the product's original value. Do you really mean it? Everyone knew even the pills and potions made by Gabriel wouldn't be 84% pure at all times, but Michael said otherwise. Of course I mean it. Buy or don't, it's your choice. He shrugged. Fine. Here are 10,000 gold coins, give me the Arch Energy Booster. The master of the Winsent family took out a gray cube and put the cube heavily on the desk beside Michael. Michael, however, did not take the cube, but instead, he nodded at Gaia to process the payment. Gaia quickly came to him and took the pay cube. 10,000 gold coins, she said without any kind expression on her face. The man hated their attitude, but with the gritted teeth, he placed his hand on the cube as a blue holographic image of 10,000 appeared above the pay cube. In a few seconds, a neatly stacked 10,000 gold coins appeared on the table. Ricky and Daniel and every single person who saw the scene sighed and looked at the gold with sparkling eyes. For Ricky and Daniel, this was the first time they had seen a huge amount like this up close. Michael was extremely excited to see the sparkling gold coins, but he controlled his emotions and ordered the system to take the coins into his storage. Wait at the waiting area until I call you, Michael said. Ricky quickly stepped forward and gestured at the man towards the line of office chairs as the man followed Ricky. Meanwhile, everyone waited to see the 80% pure Arch Energy pill and scanned the entire room to see where he was keeping the pills. Until now, People couldn't find a single pill in this store and expected Michael to retrieve the pill from his space ring, which he didn't have. The shop was divided into two halves by a glass wall. One half was the waiting area where fancy office chairs lined up for customers and a large comfy executive chair and table for Gaia. The other half behind the glass door was Michael's domain. Since this store was a temporary place, he only placed a large sofa and nothing else. "Oh, I like this chair." While everyone's gaze was at Michael, Gaia sat on her executive chair and rotated the chair playfully. Whoosh. On the other side of the glass, Michael flipped his left hand, exposing his palm and revealing a bright red flame hovering on it. What is he doing? Is he going to concoct the pills? Idiot, look, there's no furnace. Then what the heck is he doing with the fire? As they were looking at him confused, he tossed all the ingredient right into the flame. What? What is he doing? Oh my god. Is he really an alchemist? What the fuck? I'm not an alchemist, but I know enough not to throw all the ingredients directly into the flame. Everyone was stupefied by the turn of events, as no one thought that he's an alchemist or he would try to concoct the pill himself. Their faces had looks of utter shock and disbelief. In that next second, however, their jaws almost hit the ground and eyes bulged out of the sockets. The pearls and beads of herbal essences emerged from the flames but took no damage at all. Then the green beads merged into one round shiny pill that radiated arch energy and a sweet aroma. Holy fuck. Look at the pill, it looks perfectly pure and flawless. 80% pure. The crowd who were seeing this remained rooted to the ground in shock. Their hearts were trembling, unable to believe whatever they were witnessing. 5-star alchemist. Ghost is a 5-star alchemist. Several people among the crowd shouted as the entire shop became dead silent. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 700 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 600 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Finally, the moment Michael waited appeared. The sweet sound of rings of notifications rang inside his head without a stop. Chapter 56, He's not a genius, he's a frickin' monster. There are no words to describe this kind of talent. Many people were rolling their eyes, feeling dizzy and struggling just to not fall on the ground. They simply couldn't accept this was just too unbelievable. They managed to calm themselves down after a few more minutes, but the way they looked at Michael had changed. And currently, they realized one thing. He's in a different league than the other prodigies of his generation. The more they became shocked, the more badass points he earned. Daniel, take this pill to the gentleman over there. Holding the green shiny pill in his hand, Michael called Daniel. It took several seconds for Daniel to respond as he came to Michael. Michael placed the pill in Daniel's shaking hands. Before this, Daniel had never even seen 30% pure alchemy pills or potions this close, let alone an 80% pure pill. Realizing that he was holding a 10,000 gold value pill in his hand, his whole body trembled. Go on, Michael gave a pat on the back to move Daniel faster. After a minute, Daniel carefully handed over the pill to the man. Receiving the pill, he could feel the warmness and the arch energy radiating from the pill. The fantastic smell of the pill wafted into his nose. The onlookers were eager to know whether the pill was a real 80% pure one or not, and all tightly fixed their eyes on him. You will be able to feel the effect after taking the pill. Gaia stopped rolling and rotating the chair and reminded him slowly at that moment. The master said nothing more. Either he would break through to the next level after taking the pill or receive 10 times the amount he paid. Both outcomes were favorable to him. He opened his mouth and put the pill into his mouth. The next moment, the man's eyes widened in disbelief. The pill melted in his mouth and released a rich aroma. He could instantly sense his body devouring the arch energy like crazy. The master was shocked. He had been taking many pills and portions for a long time, expecting a breakthrough. Is the pill working? Someone in the crowd shouted at that moment. However, the master had no time to answer the question as his whole body was going through a change. It is so. He was about to open the mouth and all of a sudden, a force of energy gushed out from his meridians and rushed through his body, roaring like a tsunami. What? The master was totally shocked. He didn't have enough time to think more. The next moment, he sat down on the ground with his legs crossed and started to draw that force in with cultivation arts. Boom. After a few breaths, a formless airwave gushed out from his body. Then he opened his eyes suddenly with brand new momentum. His eyes were even clearer than before and his skin became glossy. Level 3 of the body refining stage. I did it? The master murmured to himself. His mind remained unclear for a while. Did I break the bottleneck which has entangled me for so many years? All of the onlookers were also dumbfounded. All of them had sensed the change in the master. Level 3 of the body refining stage. How could this be possible? My God. He really realized a breakthrough to the next stage. That was really an 80% pure arch energy booster. There was no doubt about that. I can't believe he's a 5-star alchemist. He's not even 30 years old, everyone was exclaiming with disbelief. There were no right words for them to describe their shock. Whoosh. The master of the Winsent family stood up immediately and bowed at him. Then he said with immense gratitude, "Thank you, young Master Ghost. My whole Winsent family is in your debt." The man even addressed him as young master because he was not only a prodigy but also a 5-star alchemist. Even the king would treat a 5-star alchemist like him with the utmost respect. Standing on the other side of the glass, Michael waved his hand calmly. "It's okay. The next time you need any pills or potions, come to the Majestic, of course, young Master Ghost. Can I order another 10 arch energy boosters and a couple of revitalizing pills for the members of my family?" The master asked excitedly. His breakthrough this time could greatly promote the status of his family, and with these pills, his entire family could increase their power. If the other elders who were also entangled with bottlenecks could also make a breakthrough, a complete transformation would happen in his family, and their status in Sartan would reach a new level. Therefore, spending 100,000 or more gold coins was not a bad thing but a great investment. Seeing this, the onlookers could hardly stand still. Holy shit. This is for real. Usually normal people, including the rich people, couldn't get a chance to meet a 5-star alchemist as they were extremely rare in the Elan continent. And even those few would often deal with rare treasures and artifacts rather than gold coins. Therefore, when they realized the golden opportunity in front of them in the shape of Michael, they rushed into the store and gathered in front of Gaia's counter. Then they started to shout loudly, "I will also order 5 arch energy boosters. Me too. I will take 3 healing potions. 6 revitalizing pills for me." Instantly the store was in chaos and Ricky and Daniel struggled to keep the people in the line. At this moment, Gaia stood up with an evil smile and shouted, "Behave yourselves, this is not a market. Form an orderly line and place your orders one by one. If you don't, we will close the shop and leave." The crowd instantly stopped the chaos they were making and quickly formed a line. They feared that she would really close the shop and leave. They all knew that at the same time tomorrow, the whole street would be crowded with people to buy a pill from him when the news spread. Before that happened, they wanted to buy the pills and potions. Of course, the people who had no gold coins to afford such products could only step aside and let the rich people move forward. At the same time, a fat old man who stood in the line took a deep breath before talking to one of the young guards beside him. "Rio, I'll stay in the line, you go and inform the Baron about this." In the main hall of the Baron's mansion, a middle-aged man was sitting on a large chair. The man, wearing loose silk clothes, was muscular and 6 feet tall. He was the mayor of Bradford, Tobias Totonk. In front of him was a young girl who was shivering and walking back and forth with a red face. "Father, I need him dead now. Send him 50 no. 60 men, I want them to chop him up." She was none other than Jane. "Don't be impatient, Jane, let's investigate the matter properly before taking any decision." "Fuck the decision. My guards are at death's door because of that bastard. I want justice for my people. Why can't you understand this?" Her eyes slightly welled up when she talked about her guards, but her anger was too great to let the tears roll out. "If you don't, he'll go directly to the capital and bring my big brother. I'm not saying I want to take action against Ghost, but I'm saying we can't act on impulse, especially at a time like this," Tobias patiently explained, but Jane was not in the mood to listen to him. "What's our war with Sartan Baron has anything to do with this? Grow a spine, father." "Jane." Tobias raised his voice, but he soon calmed himself. Sometimes he would think he pampered her too much and spoiled her, but he couldn't get mad at his little princess as he loved her too much. Not only him, everyone in his family loved her dearly. Her mother died when she was little, and because of that everyone raised her, giving her everything she asked as they didn't want her to feel motherless. Even when she ran amok in Bradford, no one reprimanded her. The only one who kept her in line was Selena, Jane's cousin. Jane loved her cousin like her own sister, and Selena too loved her deeply since she was little. However, no one could have known at this point that Selena will be the reason for what's going to happen to Jane. Chapter 57. Suddenly a guard rushed into the main hall. his face filled with excitement, but when he noticed Jane, he cowered like a scared cat. The guard wouldn't have felt excited if he knew what happened to Jane's guards. He just reached Bradford with Minister Liam, the fat old man who was waiting in the Majestic. "What is it, Rio?" Looking at the guard, Tobias asked. "There's a 5-star alchemist in Bradford, Lord Totonk." "What?" Tobias immediately stood up like his chair was on fire. "Where is he? Is he coming here? Why did no one inform me? Who is he?" Tobias ignored Jane's temper tantrum and rapidly fired questions at Rio. "Father. Lord Totonk, he opened up a shop in Bradford. Minister Liam is there to order some pills and potions. Let's go meet him now." A 5-star alchemist was not a joke. If he could form a relationship with one, he could gain a massive advantage over Sartan Baron, and who knew, he could even avoid war altogether. "Do you know his name?" "Lord Totonk, the people called him Ghost," and just when Tobias was about to take another step, he received a huge blow in the form of Rio's answer. "What did you say?" Tobias felt like he was going to faint as he looked at Jane with the mixed emotions of anger and uncertainty. Of all the people in Bradford, she just messed with the one person who could have saved Bradford from going to war with Sartan. Thinking about this, he wasn't sure whether to blame himself for spoiling her too much or blame his bad luck. "I don't care if he's a 6-star alchemist, he must pay the price for his crimes." "Shut up." Tobias' anger exploded and his shout echoed through the main hall. Jane stumbled back a few steps as this was the first time she had seen her father angry at her. Even when she killed a minister's son, he didn't shout at her like this. "Do you not understand the seriousness of your actions? You messed with the 5-star alchemist. People like him wouldn't be a nobody or some run-of-the-mill rich brat who you can kill and punish as you wish." The guard who escorted Jane back to the mansion informed Tobias about everything that happened at Bradford and what Michael said to Jane before he left. "The reason I leave you alive is I don't like wars and am not going to start one with your family because of you. But if you mess with me again, you and all the Bradford will know the power behind meth." Words he spoke made more sense to Tobias now than it did before. "Gather our men, Rio, we're going to greet this ghost. I hope he's not furious at us." "As you wish, Lord Totonk." "Father, wait, him coming with you." At this moment, Michael finished using the last batch of ingredients and heaved a long sigh. The ingredients might have run out on him, but the crowd was much bigger than when he first started. However, he still had one batch of ingredients to brew healing potion in his system storage as he expected the Baron to visit him soon. A large portion of the crowd came only to see the fiasco rather than buying his expensive products. Michael stood up with a smile and shouted, "My dear customers, we're going to close the shop now." Hearing that, everyone in the store was totally surprised. "What the hell? Are they going to close the store now?" "No, young Master Ghost, let me buy some Arch Energy boosters first." "Yeah, I'm waiting here for so long. Please? Don't do this." "Did we do something wrong, young Master Ghost?" Many people shouted as some even begged him not to close the shop. They were cultivators who had been stuck in their current stage for many years, and most of them had lost hope in making breakthroughs. People who had severe injuries hoped to treat their wounds with healing potions. Those who polluted their body with various pills and potions hoped to revitalize their bodies by using the revitalization pills, and finally people like the Lord of Wincent family had a chance to break through by taking the Arch Energy boosters. All of them now had found hope. Their long-lasting problem could be solved by Michael. He was their savior. "People, we're not permanently closing the store, but I've run out of ingredients and it'll take a day to get the special items I use. So there's nothing I can do." The crowd looked disappointed, but they couldn't argue with him as he made a valid point. "If you want to buy our products tomorrow, it'll be at my new shop in the Sunrise Sect. We open at 7 in the morning and close at 1 o'clock. Now leave the store in an orderly manner." "You heard the man." Gaia stood up from her executive chair and motioned the crowd towards the door as Daniel and Ricky stepped forward to deal with the reluctant crowd. "If you dare do or say something, we won't do any business in Bradford again." This. All the onlookers were tongue-tied and wearing gloomy expressions. Expressions of regret appeared in the faces of many people. They harbored bitterness in their hearts as they cursed themselves for having hesitated and not coming here soon. Before such a great temptation of 80% alchemy potions and pills, none of them could wait to come back the next day. They all wanted to ask why he was moving the store from Bradford to Sunrise Sect, but having heard Gaia, they didn't dare to question Michael. "Never mind. Let's go to the Sunrise Sect earlier tomorrow." The onlookers turned around and walked to the outside in a line. "Don't forget to bring your pay cubes tomorrow, we are not charity." As they stepped out of the shop, Gaia shouted at them and chuckled happily. Not bad for a first day. At last Michael sighed in relief and smiled. Honestly speaking, Gaia contributed much to the successful first day. He was able to concoct and brew potions without worrying about the crowd only because of Gaia. The flood of people overwhelmed the two henchmen, but Gaia handled the situation pretty well by keeping the crowd in line and throwing the bad crowd out of the shop. In simple words, she was like a mix between cute manager and ruthless bouncer. "You two go and have a break, meet us here in 2 hours, Michael ordered Daniel and Ricky. "Yes, Master Ghost." Their voices now full of energy and they looked extremely happy, like they hit the jackpot with this job. After Ricky and Daniel left the shop, both Michael and Gaia plunged into the sofa. Previously he gave the space ring he got from Heaven's Gate competition to Gaia, so she could store the gold coins inside rather than piling them in the shop before all the people. "Tell me how much we earned?" He rubbed his hands in excitement as Gaia flicked her wrist. A bright light emerged from the silver space ring in her hand, and then huge neatly stacked gold coins appeared in front of them. The glistening of the gold coins lit the room with a golden color. He had seen a stack of money before, but this was the first time he saw a huge pile of gold coins this close. "There are 359,000 gold coins. We sold 11 Arch Energy Boosters for 110,000 coins. 12 Revitalizing Pills for 132,000 and 9 Healing Potions for 117,000 coins. If we had more batches of ingredients, we could have milked the suckers dry." She let out a disappointed look. "I do have one last batch of ingredients to brew healing potions." "Good, I do expect the Baron to visit us," Gaia nodded. "And what did you ask the people to come to the Sunrise Sect?" "What's wrong with this place? No one would dare to touch us now, and we could even buy what we need from the Green Heaven. First of all, they would definitely raise their prices knowing what we are charging the people. Secondly, why should we go to the Green Heaven when we can grow our own herbs at the sect? We don't have to pay for the ingredients, and we can promote the sect more by setting up the shop there." After hearing him, she took a couple of seconds to think about this and nodded. "You are right, and I don't think that bitch Jane would let us run a business in her city after what you had done to her guards. So what are you gonna do about the ingredients for tomorrow? We cleaned the sect's herbal guardian clean, remember? Don't worry about it, I got it covered." And when she was about to ask how, they heard galloping sounds and heavy footsteps. Michael looked outside through the dark curtain to see a group of soldiers dressed in metal plates and chainmail walking towards their shop. "The Baron is here." Chapter 58. With a wave of his hand, Michael opened the door for the Baron and his guards. 2 guards in a full metal plate and chainmail entered through the door first, and following them, a red-haired sturdy man came inside. His fancy robes and aura gave out his identity without an introduction. "You?" Behind the Baron, Jane walked with the gritted teeth. Michael completely ignored her and smiled at Baron. "Welcome to the majestic, Baron Totank," he said, and reached his hand out to shake Baron's hand as the Baron seemed stunned for a moment before shaking Michael's hand. "You are Master Ghost?" The Baron didn't expect him to be this young, as he seemed like he's 19 or 20 years old. He was not wrong, as Abras was only 19 years old when he died. "Yes, Baron Totank," Michael said. The guards quickly brought 2 customer chairs and placed them behind the Baron and Jane to sit. Michael and Gaia sat on the sofa to hear the purpose of Baron's visit. "Master Ghost, my men said you are a 5-star alchemist?" How could the Baron believe a boy like him is a 5-freaking-star alchemist? Was he studying alchemy since he was in his mother's womb? "Apparently I am, a lot of people ask me that." "So Baron Totank, what brought you to my shop? Is it anything to do with what happened to the guards?" "Forgive my silly daughter for what happened, Master Ghost. I spoiled her too much, Father." Baron knew when to raise his head and lower his head. Compared to a 5-star alchemist, his position as Baron was nothing. Even the King of Bredia would treat Ghost with the utmost respect. Not only was he a 5-star alchemist, but one who could concoct pills and brew potions with the purity of 80%, which made him the second best to alchemy King Gabriel himself. "Don't worry about that, Baron Totank. I'm not going to hold that against you, but how are the guards? What do you think, you devil?" Jane snapped when Michael asked about the guards, but soon, she closed her mouth when Baron raised his voice at her. "Mast, it's fine, Lord Totank. I'm a very tolerant guy, tolerant my ass." Gaia was laughing her butt off inside when she heard this, but kept a straight face. Unlike Gaia, the veins on Jane's face popped and her face turned ugly. This guy nearly beat her guards to death, but shameless claiming that he's a tolerant guy? How ridiculous is that? "I'm glad that you have such a big heart, Master Ghost." Baron Totank was planning how to cool him off after Jane's little squabble with him. He was even ready to gift him a huge chunk of the treasury if that is what it takes Ghost to forgive Jane, but now he sighed in relief hearing that he already forgave them. "I would, however, recommend you to buy some healing potions to treat the guards." "Oh?" The Baron was again stunned by Michael. For a moment Totonk thought he saw a fox in human form. Baron understood that by recommending he's urging him to buy healing potions from him. Of course, Master Ghost, if that would make Ghost happy, Baron was willing to spend the gold for the healing potions. Looking at the Baron's pay cube, Gaia's lips curved upwards. The guards would need 6 healing potions. That'd be 78,000 gold coins. Are you seriously asking us to pay for what you have done? This is too much. Jane screamed and puffs of smoke came out of her nostrils. Do you know how much it cost me to reach the point where I am now? Compared to that, this is just a drop in the ocean. Don't mind my spoiled daughter, Master Ghost. Race the pay cube. Baron Totonk handed his pay cube as Gaia took 78,000 gold from it with a small chuckle. Gaia knew Jane must be going crazy seeing this, and it made Gaia extremely happy and satisfied. Now wait a few minutes, Baron Totonk. Michael smiled. He immediately took out the batch of ingredients to brew the healing potions in front of Baron and his men, so he could gain more badass points. Michael merely waved his hand, and under the control of his arch-energy, all the required herbs and ingredients floated up in front of him. After that, he immediately unleashed his arch-energy. With its aid, he would be able to gain precise control over every single herb. Pop. Followed by a soft vibration, the bright red fire in his hand exploded and turned into a small stream of flames that engulfed all of the herbs. Whoa! Baron immediately leaned back when he saw he's brewing the potion without even a furnace. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 900 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 600 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 700 badass points. The beep sound of the system rang continuously in his mind. Even Jane looked stunned by the sight of his ability to brew potion without a furnace. Even though she was not an alchemist, she knew how hard it is to practice alchemy without a furnace, as even the alchemy teachers in the Morning Star would risk concocting pills or brewing potions without a furnace. Under the intense heat of the flame, all of the impurities within the herbs were being burnt. Although the purification process looked simple, it was an important step that couldn't be neglected. His action of purifying dozens of herbs at once was simply shocking. He had a calm expression. His black hair was fluttering backward, and his eyes were brimming with vigor like a pair of dark gemstones. With all his focus, he kept staring at the sea of flames in front of him. Within the flames, all the herbs were floating in different positions and were being burned with different temperatures that suited them individually. There were no doubts about purification being a very difficult step in alchemy. Therefore, when ordinary alchemists concocted pills or brewing potions, they would use a furnace to help control the temperature of the flame. Besides, since each herb had its own melting point, the alchemist would need to purify them one at a time or purify herbs with the same melting point at the same time. If 2 herbs with different melting points were purified at the same time, it would usually result in impurities remaining or essence being burned off, which then makes the pill or the potion low quality. Even the alchemists with rich experience might at most purify a few herbs together at once. The fact that he was able to purify dozens of herbs together at once was simply astounding. Only the renowned alchemists dared to do so, and none of them would be able to do it so leisurely like he was doing. After a few minutes, 6 vials of green glistening liquid landed in his hand. Here you go, Baron Totonk. He handed over the vials to the Baron. If you want anything else, you have to come to the Sunrise Sect. We are moving the shop. Why? The Baron was surprised and shocked at the same time. Master Ghost, is it because of my daughter? Why are you moving? Although the Sunrise Sect was a part of Bradford, it was an independent territory unlike here. It's not, Baron Totonk. Staying here never was my plan. The Sunrise Sect is my home now and I like working from home. There's nothing you can do or say that would make me stay here. Besides, I think it's better if we stay off of each other. Michael looked at Jane when he said. Baron Totonk let out a long sigh. He knew Ghost was right because he knew his daughter. It wouldn't take Jane to find a way to mess with him if he stayed in Bradford. Therefore, the Baron reluctantly accepted Ghost's move. As far as the Baron was concerned, he's on Ghost's good side and he could use this to build his relationship with him and use his reputation and status to gain an advantage over the Baron of Sarton. Then I will wish you luck, Master Ghost, and if you need anything, please just send someone to my humble house. I will do my best to help you. Of course, Baron Totonk. After a few pleasant words, Baron left the store. Jane gave him a cold stare before leaving and indicated that she's not done with him. 437,000 gold. Looking at the disappearing figures of the Baron and his men, Gaia said. Not bad at all. Human, counting all these gold makes me hungry, let's go grab a bite. Since she had no arch energy to sustain her body needs, her stomach started to growl. She would literally kill to eat the porridge cooked by Raylene, but she was too hungry to go to the sect. Alright, lead the way. Not long after this, Michael and Gaia arrived at a restaurant. It was a magnificent restaurant with luxurious decorations, and on top of the entrance hung 3 words, the Ruby Cuisine. It was a 2-story building, and the decorations were magnificent and luxurious. Anyone could sense an aristocratic aura from this place. Obviously, those who could dine at this place were the noblest and richest men in Bradford. It was noon, and this was the busiest time each day for the restaurant. Many rich and famous people wearing expensive clothing kept arriving. And on their way to here, Michael earned badass points just by walking. It was clear that many people now recognized him and were shocked by his talents thanks to the system. A young man who looked like a waiter was bowing and greeting the customers while shouting out orders at the door. When the waiter saw Michael and Gaia, he hurriedly came forwards and greeted, "Young master, young Mississippi. Please come in." The waiter said, but Gaia could sense a hint of panic and fear in his voice. Gaia nodded, thinking that probably the waiter heard of Ghost's reputation and was about to enter the restaurant when she noticed Michael standing without moving. What's going on? Michael's environment scanning ability revealed to him that there are 2 extremely powerful entities inside the restaurant and made him reluctant to get in. Is this going to be one of the restaurant fights that would happen in novels? He loved reading Cultivation novels, and in most of them, the main character would find himself in trouble whenever he enters a place to rest or eat, especially if the MC had a beautiful girl beside him. Of course, he knew face-slapping an arrogant young master in front of all the people would get him badass points, but the 2 entities inside the restaurant seemed way out of his current league. Therefore, he had second thoughts of entering the restaurant. He would rather choose to be careful and calculative than depend on the system and his luck to save his bacon. Come on, I'm hungry. I changed my mind, let's head back to the sect. He'll ask Raylene to make something for you. He had to be alive to be a badass, and his instincts told him not to enter the restaurant. So he listened to his instincts and immediately turned back. A good man won't let his friend go hungry, Ghost. Just when he was about to leave, a voice appeared out of nowhere and formed an invisible wall around him. Shit, here we go. Chapter 59. When Michael entered the restaurant and started walking towards the tables, he could immediately feel a pair of eyes looking at him. When he turned around to look at the source of these eyes, he could see 2 girls staring at him. One of them was blonde and the other was red hair. Obviously, both of them were super hot, but Michael was not in the mood to enjoy their beauties, as they could simply kill him like swatting a fly, as the blonde was at the core formation level 6 and the red hair was at core formation level 3. At the moment, 2 of them were checking him out, and not in a good way. Take a seat, the blonde one gestured at Michael. She had shiny blonde hair, perfect facial structures, and silky smooth skin. The red hair beside the blonde was even hotter and younger than the blonde. Huh? But when he took a step forward, he felt a tight grip around his hand and looked at Gaia, who was shivering for some reason. Although she acted weird, he had his own problems now and walked towards the table without showing his worries on the face. System, at the sign of the first trouble, activate the teleportation scroll. Noted. Immediately he noticed the tension in the hall, and people in the restaurant tried their best not to look at the 2 girls and him. The atmosphere was quiet and gloomy, like everyone was afraid of these 2 beauties. Sit down, the blonde one said as Michael calmly sat before them. Wine? The blonde girl asked, but Michael shook his head. I don't drink booze, just water for me and waiter. He signaled the waiter to come. One of the waiters slowly approached them. Bring whatever my friend asks. I'm not hungry. The waiter was already tense, and when he heard Gaia's cold voice, he didn't dare to talk back to her. What's your name? Your real name? The blonde girl asked as Michael took a short sip of water. Ghost, that's my name. I know it's hard to believe, but that's the truth. He tried hard not to sound arrogant. These 2 were not someone he could mess with, at least not yet. Warning. The system detected a telepathic intrusion. Firewall activated. The system's level is too low to retaliate. The system can only stop the telepathic intrusion. This bitch is trying to hack me? For a moment, the blonde seemed surprised, but she quickly hid her surprise. You made name for yourself in this small kingdom, Ghost. Thank you, Mississippi. You don't get to know my name, at least not yet, okay? He didn't know whether the blonde knows it or not, but she sounded extremely overbearing. Is every pretty girl in this world an egoistic bitch? No, it can't be. He sighed inside and thought. What do you want from me, miss? Since these girls didn't even give their names, he was not in the mood for small talks. You don't have anything that we don't, Ghost, the red-haired girl snickered. My friend is right, Ghost. We don't want anything from you, on the contrary, we are here to give you something. This is different, Michael thought in his mind and asked, What is it, miss? How'd you like to join the Guardians Guild? Whoa, holy moly. Guys, they are Guardians, holy shit. I knew it. What are they doing in Bradford? It seems they are here recruit Ghost to their guild. The people who were staring at them silently until now began to murmur immediately when they heard the blonde girl's last words. Unfortunately for Michael, Aubers had no knowledge about the Guardian Guild. However, noticing the people's reaction, he realized that it would be suspicious if he said he didn't know anything about the Guardian Guild. Therefore he decided to ask questions without revealing his lack of knowledge about their guild. Am I not too weak to join the Guardian Guild, miss? Of course you're too weak and that's why you want to join the Guardians. The blonde's words confused him, and looking at his expression, the girl put the wine glass in her hand down and explained, We are searching for promising talents and forming a group of trainees to serve the guild and Guardians. Serve? He sneered inside and wanted to punch her in the face. What about after training, miss? Why are you asking too many questions? You should be thankful for us to even consider you. The red-haired girl lost her temper for a second and slightly raised her voice. If it was a normal circumstance and she was weak, he would have taught her a lesson. However, these two girls were extremely powerful and seemed to have a powerful guild behind them. Although the blonde girl didn't seem to like him asking questions, she still had a small smile on her face. After training, you will continue to work with your fellow trainees and serve the guild. The Guardians will evaluate your performance, and if you're good enough, they might take you as their subordinate. The girl made it sound being a subordinate as a huge honor and opportunity, but Michael didn't give a shit about their guild. How could he serve someone else other than himself? Yet, he had only one last question to ask before rejecting their offer. Miss, can I ask you one last question? He asked humbly because he didn't want the two girls to get mad and attack him, which would threaten his life. Go on, the blonde girl nodded. Is there any chance for a trainee to become a guardian? Ha, the red-haired girl's eyes went wide for a moment as the blonde girl burst into laughter. Michael still had a calm face, but he could sense Gaia was trembling. The blonde girl stood up when she stopped laughing and put a silver round medallion on the table. If you want to join the guild, bring this to the capital before tomorrow night. In a flash, the two girls disappeared from the place, leaving everyone stunned. He took the medallion and saw a logo of a crown etched into the surface. After storing the medallion in the system storage, he stood up to leave the place but saw Gaia didn't move a muscle. Hey, come on, we are leaving. He shook her shoulder and felt her body trembling. I know something's wrong, but this is not the place. Come. He forced her up as she reluctantly followed him outside. When they stepped outside, Michael grabbed her hand and activated the lighting dash. In a flash, he and Gaia left the place, leaving a trail of dust. Except for the stop he made in front of his store to leave a note for Daniel and Ricky, he dashed straight outside Bradford and reached the outskirts of the city. Alright, now we can walk and talk. The outskirts of the city looked deserted and they had no one but trees to accompany them. What happened back there? He asked, but she still remained silent, which was a rare thing when it comes to Gaia. He sighed, Usually I don't give a shit about your past, but when it comes to my subordinates I do give a shit. So tell me before I make you. After looking at his serious face, Gaia took a deep breath and opened her mouth. The girl back there. Which one? The blonde or the red hair? The red hair. She gritted her teeth and said, What about her? She is the reason for my state, human. She's my half-sister. Michael halted his steps in surprise. He never expected this twist, and now that he thought about this, it really made sense. So that's why you went quiet. You have to tell me what happened in Nagaland. What did you do? She hesitated to open up, but Michael knew what would cheer her up and make her talk. He retrieved a shiny white pill from the system storage. It was the cheap tier pill that would create a false sense of repairing her crippled meridians. If you tell me what happened, I will give you this pill I concocted just for you. Her face slightly lit up when she saw the pill and reached out to grab the pills. No flashback, no pills. The pill was too tempting for Gaia, and looking at her expression he laughed inside because it was like taking candy from a baby. He manipulated her easily. It all started. Short version would do, tell me only the good bits. Chapter 60. After my mother died, my father married a bitch called Salisi. Together they had Zanali, the red-haired bitch. Zanali, huh? He noted her name and continued his walk while Gaia narrated the short version of her flashback. Since the moment she was born, she got everything I didn't, my father's attention, mother's love, and everything I longed for. Her voice slightly broke and revealed the sadness in her heart. A few years ago, I asked one of my minions to collect information the Naga land's population and food consumption level. Why? Because I saw my father asking for a loan from nearby human kings. He wouldn't have done that if he had any other choices. You thought it has something to do with the population and food consumption of your people? Yes, and I was right. According to my minions and spies, my father is liquidating the assets and taking loans from the nobles to run the kingdom. That bastard was driving my mother's kingdom to the ground, and I wanted to fix the situation before he could sell the kingdom piece by piece with that Salisi bitch. It was obvious to Michael that Gaia didn't love her father very much by her tone and expression. What did your minion find out? That was the weird thing. From the information I gathered, I realized that most of the wealth in the treasury was going to sustain the demand for food. And what made me loathe that bastard of a king was, most of the food we bought went to the prisons to feed the prisoners. Huh. Shocking, right? I know. My mother died when I was 6 months old, but I learned that when she was ruling, Nagaland was prosperous and a powerful kingdom. One of the reasons for my mother's success was her rules. My mother made sure that rapists, murderers who killed innocent Nagas, and all other kinds of evil bastards die painfully. Because of that, everyone feared committing a crime, which kept the prisons from overflowing with Nagas. What changed? Michael asked as her face twitched in anger. Salisi and Zanali, they cancelled many of my mother's rules, saying that it was too cruel. My spineless father went along with them. Not all who commit a crime deserves to die, Gaia. But when the crimes were killing innocent Nagas and slaughtering children, they deserve to die. You killed an entire sect for the Rosewood village. You're right, those deserve to die. Except Salisi and Zanali thought they deserve a second chance. 5 years for a Naga who slaughtered an innocent family and 3 years for serial rapists? What kind of punishment was that? Those bastards treated the prison like a picnic spot, and my father sold my mother's kingdom piece by piece to feed those evil bastards. It drove me crazy, and that was why I always ventured out to calm my nerves, because I feared I would kill that bitch and my half-sister if I stayed in my castle. You still didn't say what you did to deserves to get your meridians broke. She took a deep breath after Michael's question and stayed quiet for a few seconds before continuing. I wanted to bring Nagaland back to its former glory after I take the throne which rightfully belongs to me. But when I returned to Nagaland after one of my adventures, I heard my father and most of the ministers chose Zanali as the next queen and decided to marry me to some prince of a distant kingdom. That's cold. Why did they choose Zanali instead of you? It was true that Gaia is an arrogant bitch, but she was also the rightful heir to the throne. From what he heard from Gaia, Michael could tell that her father is too soft to be a king, and Nagaland seemed like a place that needed a queen like Gaia rather than a softa like her father, who was clearly controlled by Salisi and Zanali. Because my father loved her more than me, and Zanali earned the people's support with her fake charity works and donations. She seemed like a bitch to me back there. That was her real face, human. I should have killed her years ago. Yet, she broke your meridians. How was she able to do that? If my memory serves me right, you must have been stronger than her. Gaia's face reddened in anger. When I heard they chose Zanali to be the next queen, I lost my temper and questioned my father about all the debts and revealed the kingdom's status, crime rates, and every dirty little secret he was hiding, in front of every noble and minister. Except instead of answering, that bastard threw me out of my castle, my own fucking castle, but not before I killed his fucking guards and broke his jaw. She made a boxing posture and punched the air. So you broke your father's jaw. Things are getting interesting. After hearing about her father and what he was planning to do, Michael couldn't blame Gaia for losing her temper. He wanted to feed the prisons despite the wellness of my kingdom, so I went straight to every prison in the kingdom and burned them to the ground before they could do more damages to my mother's kingdom. When I burned down the last prison, I lost most of my arch-energy and power. That bitch Salisi and Zanali attacked me at my weakest state. They captured me and brought me to my father. Do you know the sentence he gave me? Michael shook his head, but he had a feeling that it was not a community service. Tears already started to roll out of her eyes. He wanted to kneel down and ask for forgiveness from the kin of the evil bastards I burned down. I'd rather die than kneel down and beg for forgiveness. And human? She paused for a moment, and when Michael looked at her face, he saw her eyes welling up. You were wrong, human. Zanali didn't break my meridians. My father did. My own father. She then stopped walking and dropped to the ground in sorrow. Her father's betrayal and actions saddened her more than they angered her. I may have a father, half-sister, and half-mother, human, but am no different than you, an orphan. I was, am, and always will be. This was the first time he saw Gaia crying, and honestly, it startled him to see her like this. However, he hatched a quick plan to exploit this situation in his favor. For what it's worth, I think of you as my family, Gaia. He wiped the tears off from her face and wrapped his hand around her shoulder to console her. Just like he planned, her loyalty towards him jumped from 30% to 42%. She was far from being his family, but a simple lie made Gaia's loyalty towards him increase by 12% in one go. He would only consider her as his friend when she reaches at least 70% loyalty, and until then, he decided to lie to her more often to increase her loyalty. Now take this pill, you'll feel better. Besides, you look horrible when you cry. He chuckled as Gaia quickly pushed his hand around and punched him in the shoulder. You bastard. Give me that. He honestly preferred this version of Gaia to the silent, sulking Gaia. And by giving the fake pill, he managed to soothe her sadness and anger. So are you going to join the Guardians? After swallowing the pill and wiping away her tears, she asked. About that, what is this Guardian Guild? Surprisingly, Gaia didn't seem shocked but let out a stifled laugh. What would you do without me? Guardian Guild is like the Adventurers Guild but more powerful and influential. They are the law enforcers of the Elon continent. In other words, if you want to rule this kingdom, they will stop you unless you join them and abide by their laws. Law enforcers. He was allergic to that word. Back on Earth, the law and the law enforcers were his biggest enemies. However, on Earth, he had no power to fight the law units head-on, but in this world, he had all the means to destroy them if they stood in his way. He dreamt to control and rule this world from the shadows, and he wouldn't let anyone stop him from turning that dream into reality. Where were they when Ralphie burned down an innocent village? They may have done something if anyone survived the massacre and complained to the Guardian Guild. Even then, it was highly unlikely because the Guardian Guild would send someone to investigate and they will take their sweet time. When they finish investigating, either Ralphie would have killed the witness or he would have bribed someone in the guild to make his case disappear. You have to be rich and powerful to get justice from the Guardian Guild, human. The Guardian Guild may have served everyone when it was found, but now, it's all politics. And that's why no matter how great you are, you can't become a high guardian. At best, you can become a bronze-tier guardian. Typical. It was not a big surprise to him to hear about the Guardian Guild because it was like every law enforcement unit on Earth, slow, inefficient, and plagued by politics. Of course, they kept everyone in order on Earth, and all hell would break if there wasn't a law unit like police in a country. Considering Michael was a criminal, he never liked the law enforcers and never would. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.